the weekend again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, tips plus the world's best quiz. Carbs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.
Hey, Benny.
Good day, mate.
Yeah, mate. G'day, Benny.
How are we all doing out there in the land of the internet? Everyone around the world. Actually, we're going to start off today. Where is everyone watching from? Let us know in the comments. I'm keen to find out where we've got people watching from, because we've got a question we're going to be asking this week, and it's going to help if you guys participate in this. Obviously, me and Paul are going to have our own take on a lot of this, but what we want to know from you guys at home is what tip, what bit of advice has helped you the most in your windsurfing journey. So it could be something when you were learning and somebody gave this bit of advice and it took you to the next level. It could be you were learning a move and you were stuck and someone said, oh, just do this. And you were like, oh my God, that's like changed my world. Because I think definitely when I look back at my windsurfing journey, let's call it that, there's been quite a lot of little moments where I've gone, wow, that guy just, that one word at that particular time changed the game.
Check this out. So there's a comment here from Reese. He said he's in Bahrain.
Bahrain?
Yeah. So sorry, I know this is a whole podcast about tips and so forth, but since you asked the question, now I'm like, Bahrain, okay, just to have a look where they exactly, I mean, we've probably all heard of Bahrain, but just to, so you can see exactly where this is. God, what's the windsurfing like there?
There's oil down in Bahrain.
Oh, it is. It's a pretty wealthy country, isn't it, Bahrain? But it's surrounded by sea. There's probably some nice flat water sailing around there. Anyway.
Yeah, let us know. How's the sailing in Bahrain?
So we've got Bahrain, we've got Ottawa, Canada, Scotland, Inverness, Yorkshire, UK, was Cranking Tuesday, according to Piers. Poole, nice. Poole, Dorset.
Dorset.
Oh, so a few crew from UK, but anyway, welcome to the podcast.
There's all the Aussies. The Aussies don't comment, do they? Too cool.
Well, in WA, it's now 8 p.m. and on the East Coast, it's 11 p.m. So maybe
get to bed. In the bed. Get to bed, boys. They do go to bed early in Western Australia. I always remember that. Like 9 o'clock. What the weird thing is in WA, that's a good tip. If you go to WA, don't go for food later than 8 o'clock. Everywhere's shut. It's fucking nightmare. I was like, okay, right, let's go for a few beers and some tucker. It's like, not serving food, mate. Not serving food, mate. Oh, no, we don't serve food. I'm like, what? How is that?
Oh, look, we've got a Queenslander, Jaden. He's here.
Watch out for the snakes and the crocodiles, mate.
Oh, we've got Howard Farah. Sammy, he's there near Coronation. He's laying in the swag. Sammy.
Swag.
Yeah, he lives out in the country in the sticks. He's a mate of mine.
Actually, I've just read it. Laying in the swag, avoiding the sick kids. So he's obviously got a house and he's in the garden in the swag.
Yeah,
watching the podcast.
Yeah.
Living the dream, mate. Living the dream.
He's got a sick setup out there. So anyway, but so today, Benny.
You call me Sammy, Dickie.
What's any ideas where we're staying with these tips? Oh, hold on, what's this? George is saying one thing I remember helped me evolve my jibes was to bend my knees. Yeah, so should we get straight into it, Benny? I'm
just going to recap because we have had a few more people join in, so we killed a bit of time. So we are today we're asking you guys at home, what is or what has been your best windsurfing tip? Could be from a coach, could be from just a random stranger, could be from anything, or it could be something that you worked out and you went, wow, this has changed the game. Could be, you know, even a life windsurfing motto that you've changed, you know, like your mindset. I don't know, anything that has helped your windsurfing, because I know from my experience there's been quite a few moments where things have changed the game. So I think we start off with the comments. I think we start off with George. Okay. George the jungle. What did he say? What's George say?
One thing I remember helped me evolve my jibes was to bend my knees more. Once I tried bending my knees more, the jibes got easier and more successful. Actually, and not only is it for jibes, but any carving maneuver.
Yeah.
Yeah, with wave sailing. Yeah.
No, 100%. And again, there'll be people like going, yeah, okay, we know that. This is sometimes, and what I know from doing a lot of coaching, is what you think you are doing and what you're actually doing are sometimes two very different things. So what we find in the coaching is when we film people, and sometimes it's the first ever time they've seen themselves on video camera. They've usually had a few snaps, their mates took a few pictures, or they've randomly, their missus has took one, or their husbands took one of the wife, whatever it is. But the video is game changing, and they usually look at themselves sailing and go, oh, I didn't think I would like that kind of thing. You're like, oh, that's odd. Okay. So, yeah, go on.
No, I was gonna say that's why I hate seeing myself on film, because it just looks so bad. I think with windsurfing, you have a certain feeling. You sort of think, oh, this is fun, and then you watch yourself. But it's, as you said, there's probably no better way to learn than to actually see yourself, because that's when you realize, wow, I'm really not doing certain things correct. Yeah,
Go
on. Oh, no, I was going to say regarding with George, I think one big thing that I'm trying to get better at is, I mean, I'm sure I could bend my knees further down in general, but also when it comes to any carving maneuver when the waves, is really get that back hand far down. Because sometimes I'll sail with a GoPro in my head, you know, to make some videos. And when I watch it later, I'm just so lazy with moving my rear hand. I mean, sure, I might move it a little bit, but I'm not moving it nearly far down enough. Like anybody out there, even if you're not wave sailing or you're just doing a jibe, just go into a jibe and just exaggerate putting that rear hand down. And you basically can't go too far with it almost, can't you? It's almost like the further you go, it just improves your arc.
Yeah.
You almost,
What I would say is, like, there's two things coming out of this. Is one thing, which I kind of mentioned before, one of my biggest tips ever for windsurf, you want to progress, is get yourself filmed. Get whatever it is, whoever you have to pay, maybe it's your son or daughter, you know, stick them with the iPhone and get them to film you. But any type of footage you can get of yourself sailing will dramatically help. You know, at least you understand what you're doing and where you're coming from. Going to George's one about bending the knees, as they say, getting yourself low, bending the knees, getting your weight down and driving through the board will always help, because obviously in chop as well, if you're quite straight, every time you go over a bit of chop and you're not absorbing the bumps, this will move the board all over the bloody place. So bending the knees and absorbing the chop and trying to drive, you know, into the jibes. And then this also goes with what you said about putting your hand back. Now, what I've learned over the years of doing the Send It Academy, the coaching, when you put your hand back, that's one thing. And you think, oh, you just put your hand back. But actually, what you need to realize is why that helps. And actually, what you've noticed, or what I've noticed over the years, is the big one is the hand goes back to push the rig forward. So when you put your hand back, as you drive into the turn, you naturally pull in with your backhand. And because it's back, you naturally push the rig forward. So it's kind of extending that front hand, and this drives the rail down in the front and puts your weight to the inside, and you're basically you're driving off the rail of the back, but because you've got the sail forward, it's keeping the board relatively flat. It's not doing a wheelie and slowing you down. So there's like two things, and it's the same with a forward loop. When you put your hand back, but when you pull in, the rig goes forward and you end up at the back of the rig. So the backhand, like you say, you can be very aggressive with where you place it. And sometimes the more aggressive you are, it really helps. But while you're putting it back, it's to put the rig forward.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I didn't really fully think about it. When someone's trying to either wants to improve their jibes or improve their bottom turns, I mean, with there's two things we mentioned: bend your knees and move the hand. Is there anything else that you can think of to help? I mean,
there's a very interesting point, and I still haven't made a video about it. So foot position, and when you change your feet, where you put them. Now, there is some very well-known coaches who have got a hell of a lot of experience that say, let me get this right. I mean, Colin's one of them, and we've had kind of big discussions about this because he's basically got this towel. This is where it started. There's a towel of where you put your feet when you're doing a jibe. And I was looking at it, and it makes total sense when you see the videos. Total sense. So you're looking at your feet. You put your foot on the rail, and then when you step in front of your foot that's on the rail to keep the board down, and then you step forward. And I was thinking, oh, okay, that's cool. That's I didn't know that. Okay, I'm going to make a video about this, and I thought, right, I'll just get some footage of me doing a jibe, and I'll put a video out there. So I get the video of me doing a jibe. I'm like, I'm not doing that. and I class myself as one of the best jibers. Like, won the indoor, like that. Jibing is my thing. I'm freaking good at jibing, if I do say so myself. And I was like, I'm not doing it. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just weird. So I started looking around. Are the PWA boys doing it? No, not all the time. But they are sometimes. So I'm like, this is really weird. And I look more into like jibing videos. And I'm like, hang on a minute. They're all saying this. You've got to step forward. It keeps the board flat. And it makes total sense how you teach it. So I've been kind of on a quest to work out what the hell is going on. Why are the top guys in the world, PWA guys, me as well, not doing this jibe? And then I watched some video and I am doing it. So I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why am I doing it sometimes? And now I've kind of got the thing of why it is. So, which is groundbreaking, this is to me. So what happens is on certain boards, in certain conditions, when I jibe, I don't think where I put my back foot. So your back foot obviously comes out the back foot strap and goes on the rail to engage the jibe. Yep. Front foot stays in the foot strap, back foot goes on the rail. Now, this way of jibing, which all the coaches talk about, which is the intermediate jibing, they teach everyone to step forward, it basically depends where you put your back foot. It's nothing else. So sometimes I want to do a hard jibe or I'm on a big board. So if I want to jibe a big board, I will put my foot quite near the back because it's very wide. And by putting it near the back, when I step through, I step in front of my foot. And that is the way they teach it. But a lot of the time when I'm on a small slalom board and the board's narrow and I'm flying full speed, I actually put my back foot further forward. So near the opposite strap. And then you can't step forward. It's impossible. So then you actually end up stepping back. Again, does this change anything? No, but from what I understood from watching all these jibe videos, it was like, this is the way you have to do it. Everyone else is doing it wrong. From what I've now discovered is that's not true. So I will make a proper video about it because just explaining it, with words is maybe not that clear. But it is interesting, and it did make me think about my jibing. And yeah, it depends on how windy it is, how you want to keep the board trimmed and all this. But it isn't just hard and fast that you put your foot, in a certain place. It really depends on your speed, how much commitment, and all this sort of stuff. So, and again, that is why a lot of these coaches teach a single way because they don't want to confuse people. But I've grown up just learning to jibe. I don't have any tips on how to jibe. I just learned, so then sometimes when you're coaching, you have to kind of like deconstruct your jibes or your forward loops or whatever to kind of work out how's the best way to teach people, which is why some of the best windsurfers in the world are not great coaches because they're just so talented and they learn stuff like easy. So if you ask them how they do it, they go,
How do you remember how long it took you from the first time you tried your first jibe to you actually completed it? Do you have any idea of how long it took you?
I was so young, but it was relatively quickly. But I always remember, what I do remember is, which is quite funny now, is like I was at Bala Lake, which is where I learned to windsurf. So I started windsurfing when I was 9. And there was this couple, I can always remember it. There's this like windsurfing couple. They had matching boards, sunset slaloms, and I still can see this guy, yellow foot straps, coming into the lake because it's obviously really flat at the sides of the lake, and just doing the most awesome carb jibes. And he was like my hero. I don't even know who he was. I got no name, but it was like this 80s. You can imagine like 80s, big glasses, the short shorts, the girlfriend. Look, they've got exactly the same kit. They got the car with it. And I just still remember this guy just doing these silky smooth jibes. And I was like, one day. It's so funny. Like now I think back, it's like such a strong memory. It's like, wow. I can still see him jibing. Pretty cool.
And now that's you, Benny. You've got the girl, the silky smooth jibes.
We haven't got the matches.
Actually, that just brings back a memory for me as well. When I was 18, 19, I was backpacking through Europe and I went to visit Vasiliki. And it was 1996. And I remember turning up there and I didn't have any gear or anything. I was literally just had a backpack on. But it was like a scene out of a sort of a movie. Like I rock up at the beach and there's some guy, I mean, let's just for this story call him Flash because he had some funny name like that. Like everyone goes, oh, that's, Flash. Or, like it was like some German guy or something. And he was like the slalom king. And basically everyone was like, oh, there he is. And he kind of like, when I first saw the guy, I thought, is this for real? Because he strutted down to the beach like he was the king, basically. And got on this board and then just took off and then just did this like lay down jibe and came back and did another lay down jibe. And everyone's like, whoa, like this is, and I remember at the time just thinking, oh yeah, this is like, it was so weird thinking back, but that is a bit of a thing in Europe as well. I've noticed there's a bit of I mean, it's probably maybe different now, but back in those days, it was a bit like that, wasn't it? If someone could go out and just lay down a jibe or do something pretty, like all of it, you were kind of the king. Yeah. It was so funny. Like
it is weird now because it's really hard because I'm obviously commentating and I'm mixing with all these World Cup guys. Imagine if you're not into windsurfing or you're getting into it, and then someone like Leonard Neubauer comes down.
I know.
We used to go, oh wow, that guy's doing massive cardio. He comes in and does like, I don't know what he does, like triple. Jump. Imagine what you must think, because the only thing I could think of is like that jibe to me felt very achievable, but it was still awesome. Actually, whereas if I saw Leonard go do his thing, I'd be like, you seen Bowles' new like Instagram clip? He's doing like Brazil.
I don't even know what's going on.
What's he doing? Like switch stance push loop or switch stance shifty? Or
don't ask me. I don't do it.
Mad stuff.
Actually, it's funny you should mention Leonard Neubauer. Hey, how do you say his surname? No, how do you say it?
I'm just
But there would be people out there because he lives in Greece or whatever. But there would be literally people out there, huh? Leonard, doesn't he? Leonard, yeah. Leonard Neubauer. Jesus, Neubauer. How do you say it?
No, I don't even know. I say Neubauer, but sometimes
Neubauer, that's it.
I have created their name. Sometimes they're like, no one ever used to call me that. Now they changed the name.
No, but Benny, just think there'll be people out there that have literally never seen a windsurfer before, and that Leonard might be their very first time they've ever seen a windsurfer. Like, imagine you'd never seen a windsurfer before, and then he comes along and does some crazy move, and just like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Might be the only time you see it.
Maybe just the jibe is still like the coolest thing. Like,
well, I think for anybody that doesn't windsurf, a jibe looks like a pretty slick move because you just think, oh, they're going one way and they pretty much turn around at almost the same speed and just start going back the other way. That actually is pretty impressive for someone who doesn't windsurf, I guess.
Monkey224 says, I rate a nice jibe over any freestyle trick. You know what I mean? See, and that's the thing, your brain changes through time. So sometimes it's hard to then go back and see what everyone else is seeing. And I think I struggle with that a little bit sometimes when I'm making videos, and we do cover a lot of wave stuff on the podcast. We were talking about it earlier. And it's like, sometimes you've got to, we need help from you guys at home of what you want to see, because sometimes we get maybe carried away on our own thing. And actually maybe the audience wants to see something else. So it's, keep us in the loop, boys and girls. Keep us in the loop.
So when you're doing your clinics, Benny, what are the actual main things that people want to learn, or what's the main thing?
I'll be honest, a lot of it is wave riding, getting whatever. I mean, there's so many aspects to wave riding, so it's a very broad subject, but getting better at wave riding. And forward loops is obviously a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's got a lot of different hats. Like most of the time, this psychological, the big one is to get people over that psychological barrier. And this is, there's a million tips here, because everyone's different. That's what you realize. Like when you make a video for YouTube and you think, oh, that'll do. I know deep down that there will be a few people that will be helped by certain videos. Like I had this Italian guy come up to me in Poser about the push loop video, and he was made up, and that kind of makes it worthwhile. But I know somebody else totally, will watch exactly the same video and take away something else. And this goes back to, you don't always know what you're doing. So when you try and put it into practice, what you think you're doing and what you're trying to do is not always the same thing. So when we have the coaching, sometimes there's a lot of relearning. Like maybe we have a few guys that have learned to forward loop, just from sheer big bollocks, and that technique is not quite there. But then to relearn them, it is like a psychological kick in the nuts, because you're like going, okay, that's great. But if you want to get to the next level where you're never scared and you get like the, playing in ones and you can go to the next level, you need to relearn the whole technique. So you've got to take them back to almost square one. And this is almost harder than having like a blank canvas of someone who's kind of not really tried yet. And you can then mold them from the beginning.
And do you find that in your clinics, for people who can't forward or whatever way, wave riding stuff, are they pretty much doing it by the end of your clinic, a lot of them?
Okay, so that is an interesting one, because we do most of our clinics, or I do anyway, in Cape Town. So we got 3 clinics, and they're all full up already. So in January and February, but you've got a week. So you get 7 days, usually 6 days sailing and coaching and videoing, and 1 day off. Sometimes the day off doesn't happen, or it's just weird that the wind is kind of weird and you've got to do 6 days in a row, which if you haven't done much sailing and then you do 6 days with me, especially with me and with Colin, is hard going, because it's a like baptism of fire. Cape Town's pretty hardcore. So it really depends on the conditions. So some people come and they want to learn to forward loop, but maybe we just get riding all week. We get a lot more cross off, or just the venues. There's so many different beaches and they're not all great for learning to forward loop. So it does, like any windsurfing that anyone's ever done, you need the conditions to play ball. So the best success is if we go to the same beach every day and we get similar conditions. This is by far the best success we ever have. And usually most people are doing it if we get those type of conditions. If anyone's ever seen the Pepe video with Pepe learning to forward loop, we had that week. We spent a lot of time at one beach and one at another beach, but it was mostly same beach, similar wind, and the progression was crazy, really crazy. But if we have a week where we've got northwest in the middle, which is the wind from the opposite way, and we're driving down to the Cape Point, and you've got to sail Cape Point for the first time, you're not going to do, it's like doing Who Keeper for the first time. You're not going to go and try forward loops, and then you go up to this beach and do this beach, and then we go up north to Elands, and it's like, they're not the best to nail down someone who needs consecutive days. The problem is with that, and again, this is a good tip, is staying with the theme of the podcast, is if you want to progress, try and find somewhere with consistency. You want to be able to go like any other sport. If you want to practice tennis, you get one of those ball things that hits it to you exactly the same place, and you can practice the same thing over again. If you want to learn to forward, if you've got like a nipple high to waist high wave coming at you every day and you've got 4 or 5 every day for a week and you're motivated and you've got a camera and you can come in, you will for sure have a good success rate.
Not me. I'm a slow learner.
You haven't been on a clinic with me.
I know. I need to get one. You do me good rate. Actually,
come over.
Talking about consistent spots. Actually, this might be an interesting question for you, Benny. We could be here all day, I guess, talking about everywhere around the world. But since probably most of the people listening to this are going to be more around Europe area, what are the best spots for places that are consistent for people who want to improve these sorts of things you're talking about? Like, where would you recommend they go?
Well, this is a very, very good question. And I have promoted your local beach a lot to people, because if I had to pick anywhere, like, let's say you just said, pick anywhere, Ben, pick the best place. You're going to do a clinic. You're going to teach people to forward loop. I would go to Coronation Beach in Australia. That is where I would go. It's actually very similar to Rossniger, where I learned to do my stuff. And it's got, and what you're looking for, again, I'll come on to some venues if I can, but it's what you're looking for is not a crazy steep wave. You don't want that wave to, some places you go to in the world, they sit like this, they're too flat, and then suddenly they break. So there's not much of a bit where it stays up. Whereas Coronation, Rossniger, where I used to sell, the wave comes in with a little bit of a peak on it for quite a while. So, and especially Coronation, there's even a little wave on the inside, which is absolutely perfect, as long as it's not too shallow. You have to be a bit careful with Coronation for that. But I think a lot of the beaches, like in Denmark and stuff, the problem is you don't get the consistency. But conditions in the UK, so many South Coast beaches, there's a lot of really great jumping beaches, but you've got to wait for a weather system. So then if you look at spots which have like consistent wind, you've got to be looking at the Canaries. I mean, the Canaries is good. I mean, Moulay or Morocco, I have never been, so I can't say, oh yeah, that's the best place. But just looking at the videos, looking at how it does look a great coastline. The Morocco, just in general.
I'm actually surprised you haven't been to Morocco. Why is that?
Me too.
Yeah, right. It's pretty close to where you are.
Yeah, the opportunity just hasn't quite, because since we've been here, I've been building and trying to get the whole house and the Cyber Surf Ranch ready, and having 2 babies and trying to do Windsurfing TV and traveling around the world. So it's like all the bits that I thought I was going to do, which is go to Tarifa more, go to Morocco, drive to the north of Portugal, to Viana and stuff like that. I haven't really done Guincho. I haven't really done any of that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay. Do you prefer port tack or starboard tack?
Where?
Like, well, for wave sailing, do you have a preference, starboard or port?
Yeah, jump in port tack, 100%. Riding, I don't mind each way. I mean, I've spent a lot of time, when they talk about wave riding, we talk about, when you say port tack or starboard tack, you always say port tack, which is left hand, which is on the way out. So even if it's port tack on the way out, and I'm talking about riding, I'll say port tack, even though you're riding on starboard tack, just because some people get that confused. It's confusing. I spend a lot of time on port tack, which is Cape Town, where I used to sell Rossniger, Canaries, mostly port tack. I sell all the time on port tack. So my jumping is pretty solid. Starboard tack, it's still not great, even though I live in Portugal and we sell a lot of starboard tack. We don't get much jumping here.
Yeah, okay.
Let's say, just before we go off this, please feel free to suggest some good forward loop places to learn. I have is it Risco in Fuerteventura, which is the other side. I've never even sailed there, and it's just down the way from Center 1 or Center whichever center is in Sotavento Beach, the other end to the Reading Eggley Center. I've heard that is really good to learn to forward loop.
Actually, this is a comment from George again. He's saying, I would also say that Heli tack opens the way for many other tricks as well, develops wind awareness. Actually, this is one move that I just can't do consistently. Like, I mean, 98% of the time, I just, like, I'd love for someone like yourself, Benny, to see what I'm doing, and maybe for anyone else out there that's wanting to learn Heli tack. But I get to the point where you get backwinded, and then that part I'm pretty okay with. But then when it comes to rotating the rig around myself, I'm obviously like, what am I doing wrong? Because I literally tried to rotate it and I just can't. I have zero. I feel like I have no control over feeling comfortable with that sail flip, and then just
So you're probably doing it too early by the sounds of it. Most people try as they go up into a heli tack, they don't push that front hand away. I mean, it depends. I like Colin is the because he does that a lot, teaching people the heli tack. Because when we do the Cape Town clinics, usually we've got a lot of wind, so this is why I like doing it in Cape Town. But when you obviously do clinics in every place in the world, you have a lot of light wind days, so then you end up doing a lot of sail tricks and all that sort of stuff. But the heli tack is usually one when you see what someone's doing. It's hard for me to just explain it like this, but when you see what someone is doing, you can fix it really quickly. So it's one of those moves where someone goes, I can't do this, and you can go, oh well, you push out, go around more, and then you can flip it around your back. Which the problem is, most people try and force it, and then you get the bloody strimmer where it comes through and your mass takes out your legs or something. Is that what's happening? What's your most common problem with it?
It's just I get back winded, and then when I go to flip it, it's just like there's just too much power. Like when I watch a video on how to heli tack, it looks effortless. They just flip the rig as if like they could almost do it with one finger, and all just sort of sails out with no. Whereas I seem to just be powered up. I'm back winded, and then I go to flip it, but it's like the sail just gets filled with wind, and I'm just like, oh shit! It all just happening so quick, I can't control it. Yeah, I don't know. It's obviously something I'm not doing quite right, but I just don't know what it is, because every time I try, I'm kind of like, what am I doing wrong? I just can't.
I need to see where your feet are, but usually it's because you're not extending that front hand, isn't it?
Okay.
Again, my brain
I don't know. That's what I have
visually
to
see. I'm a visual person. Like I say, Colin, which is why I do the clinics with him, he would just go, oh yeah, just this, because he's taught that thing for like 20 years or something. So there's some real common problems. Usually, isn't it? I mean, usually for me, it's that front hand. You push away and then pull in with your backhand, so you twist into it, and then you can just.
That sounds probably pretty good, because now that you say that, one other thing that happens to me is when I flip it, I often fall off the back. Like I'm not. Are you supposed to keep your feet directly in between the mast, or like the mast directly in between your feet? Generally?
I need to stand up. I don't teach heli tacks very often.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't have to. No, you stand quite close, because you've got to pivot around the mast. Around.
Because I fall off the back, I'm obviously feeling like I'm somehow all my center of gravity effort is all towards the back a bit. So that, I mean, pushing that front hand forward a bit more would probably be a big step to me, maybe rectifying that. Like I'll have to next time I'm going
to do a heli tack video. That's it. That'll get me. I've got no wind at the moment.
Yeah. Because it's actually, I mean, I've only ever done a few, and when you do them, they're quite a satisfying move, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's just.
It's useful. It's actually a useful way to turn around on a waveboard, because the cool thing about it is you don't have to jump around the front of the board, which is actually sometimes harder, like especially in light winds. When you've got wind, you can jump around and get the wind in the other side. But if you've got a light wind tack to do, actually a heli tack, once you can do them, is actually a really useful way to turn around.
That's a good point, actually, because obviously you can do a slow jibe, but then you're losing ground downwind as well. But also just the getting, it's actually fun just when you go into a heli tack and get back-winded and just sail along back-winded, because it's, at first it's all a bit weird, but after a while, as George says, you're learning a lot of sail control. It's good, isn't it? Yeah, it's a good move. I'll try to, I'll take your advice.
I would say, like, my big tip would just go through and get used to extending your front hand and letting the sail come kind of into you. Because then when you can control that, then it sounds like you're not going through the wind enough. So then you have to kind of force it through, and then you end up getting pushed kind of backwards.
Well, yeah, actually, that's a good point as well. Is I'm not exactly sure at what point do you do the flick. Like I'm sort of back-winded and then go, well, at what point in the board, like, do you want the board going just a little bit off?
It's like anything, just exaggerate everything. Go further than you think. Because you can't go through the wind. If you don't push your front hand away, you basically can't go round enough because
Well-
the wind won't let you. Whereas if you push your front hand away and kind of let the sail come into you, it actually lets you go further up into the wind. So then when you flip it, it goes through the eye of the wind quicker. Whereas if you're not up enough, when you try and push it, it just backwinds you and you can't, you get forced back.
Well, what happens is, because I've tried it in different formats, I'll sort of think, okay, I need to get the board maybe going around through the wind a bit more, but then I end up just going into an upwind 360. Like everything, like it just, the whole board just spins around. And then I'm just going back to, you know how you can do that.
A video. Give me a video. This could be a good video.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like you obviously the sail, it goes through the wind and all of a sudden it catches back on the right side. And then I'm actually end up just doing a slow upwind.
Yeah, but when you get to that point, you basically just,
that's what I usually try to do, but I'm just saying sometimes I've gone that far way through the wind that the wind is caught back onto the side that I'm already on, and then the board just flips around and I'm sailing back in the direction I started. You know, like just a 360. Well, you know what I mean? Like that's
yeah, but that's the point. That point is the point you flip.
Yeah, I know, and I do that most of. I'm just saying this is the problem I have, is knowing exactly at what point to do the flip. I'm either doing it too early or too late, and anyway. Like I said, I've watched a few videos on YouTube and it just looks effortless. When you see someone do it, you go, how can I not do this? It looks like so easy. But then when I go to do it, it probably doesn't help that I'm using boards that are generally quite sinky as well, you know, trying to learn it just because, well, you know.
On a bigger board.
Well, it would be a bit easier, wouldn't it, if it was a big floaty board, wouldn't it? But
yeah, no, for sure, it definitely helps. You can get away with more on a floaty board. On a small board, you've got to have your balance and everything perfectly right, you know, for it to go wrong. Whereas if you've got a bit of volume, you can actually get pushed and push back. Whereas if you're on a small board, it's very difficult to do that.
Yeah, because that's one thing I've noticed with a lot of the YouTube videos with things like heli tacks. They'll be on like 110 liter board, or like, you know what I mean? Like they'll be on a pretty big sort of short board when they do those videos sometimes. So it looks quite easy.
That's your new video, progression video. How long it took me to learn to heli tack. I think it'd be interesting with a few tips. We're going to get you a few tips.
There's lots of
things. I need to see
a
video of you doing it wrong, and then we'll work it out. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, or maybe next time when I have a GoPro on my head. It might be a little bit hard for you to see through a GoPro though, right? Like you kind of want to see from
you need to see it from the beat or from someone else. Give someone else to GoPro.
Yeah, cool. No, well, I'll get someone to just film with their phone next time I do it, and I can send it to you.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting.
Okay, so actually, this is a good one. Farrell O'Shea's book. Farrell O'Shea is a legend. Is he still windsurfing, Benny? Or
he died.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
of course.
He didn't have a,
you know, I mean, I'm getting him confused with Peter Hart. Sorry, Farrell O'Shea obviously passed away. I'm sorry. He was your friend, wasn't he? I'm sorry about that. So Farrell O'Shea's book from the late 80s, Advanced Windsurfing, explained barrel roll backloop very well and was able to understand it enough to make a decent stab at it. Hold on a second. Explain the barrel roll backloop very well. Let's understand it to make a decent stab. I saw the backloop part. That's another move that I have landed before, but I'm just not. I crash a lot more than I land. And give me a tip on this one, Benny. So I've kind of you go like obviously you're sailing up, you go up the ramp. I sort of move the rear hand back a little bit just for a bit of control and the whole thing. Try not to just go into a rotation straight away because then you'll over rotate. So sort of go up a bit, look over your shoulder, tuck your sort of back leg in a bit so you're not, if you can, try to do that. The problem I have is when I come down, I'm sure there's been times that I'm coming down and if all I had to do was hold on, I would probably be fine. But I seem to be coming down at quite a shallow, ideally you want the board sort of coming down more like this, but I'm coming down with the board in a fairly shallow way. Well, that's how it feels. So then I'm kind of like, oh shit, I better bail because I'm just going to land quite flattish and hard.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
So again, after doing all these clinics, what you realize is the back loop for me is the hardest one to teach, because everyone wants to learn it. The problem is with the back loop, it's a feel move. It's all about feel. So if you haven't got the feel, if you're not in the right positions, you're just not going to land it, no matter what tip you get. Whereas a forward loop or a push loop or, you know, stuff like this, there's a certain thing you can do to basically get around. And yeah, it won't be pretty sometimes, but you can actually still get all the joys and everything. Whereas a back loop, it's all about feel. So the main thing is the takeoff. If you don't have a good takeoff when you're learning to back loop, you will not land. You know, most of the time, if I see someone take off a particular way, I can go, okay, they got a good chance to land. You know, you can literally see it. It's so obvious. So the main things are, which I know people probably heard, but you've got to remove as much as you can all your forward speed, like when you're learning. So you've got to, you know, remove the forward speed, but not have like any sort of spin. So a lot of people, you know, you give them the tip to remove their forward speed, which is carving up into the wave. And then the problem is what they do is they carve up into the wave and keep carving off the wave. And this obviously sends them into the super spin. So you've got these super spin guys, which is a certain set. And then you've got the other guys who basically don't get any rotation or under rotate everything because they've probably done it before and then they've held back. So I kind of see that as two separate types of people. So it sounds like you are under rotating.
Well, yeah.
But it sounds like you're going flat spin. So you may be just like kind of rotating underneath it rather than pressing up, you know.
Yep.
So what you really want to do is like the quickest way to explain a back loop, and then you need to see someone do it, because I can explain it, but you might not be doing this. But so the way to look at it, let's say coronation, heading out, you know, you want, for me, not much power in the sail. Like if you're going to land back loops when you're first learning, the least power in the sail, the better. So usually bigger board, smaller sail. This helps you plane because you've got the bigger board, but you've got less power. If you've got less power, when you move the rig, when it's got less power, that has less effect on what happens. So this is why most people, when they're learning to back loop, or they think they've got it, and then they go out and it's really windy, they crash everything, and you know, or they start landing back loops, but they can't land them when it's really windy. It's because every movement when it's windy has a bigger effect, and everything is just harder. So you know, less power is better. The steeper the wave, the better. The reason for this is the steeper the wave, the more it hits you back and takes away all that forward speed. So if you're taking off and you're almost going through the wave and traveling forward, then you've got to turn, you're going to struggle. If the wave hits you really hard, like most people land their first back loops when they're going out and they slow into it, then the wave hits them and it pushes them almost back to the beach, and they've just got no power in the sail then, because you're almost going with the wind. So then you've got, like, you can do whatever you want with a rig and it doesn't affect anything. And all you have to do is almost point the board. It might be a bit ugly, but you'll land it. And you're like, oh my God, I can do a back loop. The problem is that situation doesn't happen very often. So what you're trying to do is recreate that situation that when you get hit, that position and that feel is what you're trying to create when it's windy or when you hit a ramp. So the way to do that for me is to see the ramp, you carve up, but then you stop carving and you drive it up into the wind. The more you drive up into the wind, again, you'll kill your forward speed. The wind won't pull you downwind and you get this kind of swing effect. So you go up into the wind. And then once you're like, you push your front leg out, you bend your back leg, you know, you don't pull in the sail like everyone says. You can kind of keep it open and you basically wait for it to kind of stop. So the nose of the board pointing up, you stop in the head of wind, and then you just fall and try and drop.
Yeah, but there's the other thing too. So I try to do that, but sometimes I'll go up and then go, oh, I'm stalling. And then I look over my shoulder and I'll just come down. Like,
that's a confidence thing. So, because also you've got to gain confidence that you can land. So this comes back to what I say, what's the biggest tips you've had? But for me, it's basically telling yourself you are going to land. Like, it sounds a bit like hippie, like you're going to land. But if you try and land, like even if you, like you say, I'm coming down flat and I let go, don't let go. Just
No, but what I'm saying, sorry, in this case, you go up. You said, don't do the turn until you kind of stall. And it happens as well where I go up and I stall, but then I sort of look over my shoulder, but the board just doesn't go round. I literally are coming down almost just sort of tail
So at
first.
this point, this is okay. Well, tail first. So that's probably how you've got your body weight. You're underneath the rig and you're like hanging, which is obviously not good because that sounds like you're quite scared of over rotation. So I would guess you've had over rotation issues in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then because you're probably a good windsurfer, which again, we get a lot of people like this on the clinics. So then they adapt this kind of poo stance where they hang underneath it because they don't want to fall on top of it. Because when you have those scary back loops where you get flung around and you end up on top of the gear, then people kind of usually who've got good feel, they usually adapt. And you see these guys, they can land back loops now, but they're kind of ugly and they hang underneath them and they land with the board flat and then the sail goes and it's like you basically can see people snap masts like this. And it usually comes from good windsurfers who've not really seen themselves sail and they've just adapted to what they're feeling. And then they go down a bit of a wrong path and you kind of get it back from there. It'd be really interesting. Again, you should send me some videos because I'm definitely a video person. Yeah. And then there are different traits that different things have. Like you explaining it, I might not be getting the true picture of what's actually happening. But a lot of back loops, you want to drive with your front leg. The main myth that I hear a lot is sheeting in. And this word sheeting in can be misconstrued by a lot of people. So some people get it, some people don't, because the feeling when people, and usually it comes from pros who have learned to back loop and they explain it to people, you pull in. And the problem is when you tell that to someone else, they could kind of take that as pulling the sail in towards the board. So if you look at a lot of back loops from guys that sail, the top of the rig, top of the back loop, the rig is not closing the slot to the board. It's actually open compared to the board. And but the sailor's body is pulled in because the way they've opened up their hips, because what you do is you keep the board like pointing up to the sky and actually the top of your body opens up to go for the landing. You can't you've got to unlock from the hips. If your shoulders and your hips are on the same plane, you'll over rotate because you pull the board with you. And as soon as you pull the board with you and you want to look down, the board gets this swing rate and that's what kind of creates this over rotation. So what you need to do is kind of like disconnect the top half of your body from the bottom. So you drive up into the back loop, all the things I said before, you drive the board up, but actually the top of your body opens, and that means the sail actually opens, and then you push the rig forward on the way down. And these things, again, it gets complicated. It's hard to say on a podcast without having visuals to point through. But there are some really big keys. And again, once people are at a certain level, you can help them land back loops, but they first got to get the feel and understand what they're doing. So it is one of those moves, whereas a forward loop, it's like this, bonk. Okay. Now we got to, perfect it. Push loop, this. People can land one time. Very rare that people will go out and start cracking out back loops when you give them a few tips. It's like a slow builder. It's like a carb jibe. It's never over till it's over. There's lots of ingredients and feel all the way through a jibe, and it's the same with a back loop.
So if going up, if you do everything pretty correct and then the board comes down, goes around, when you're coming back down, what's the tip to get yourself in a good position coming down? Because that's the other thing. Obviously I said that I'm coming in if I do come
but this
down,
is all to do with takeoff. Like it sounds daft because if you're takeoff and everything's wrong, you won't get yourself in a good position because you have to have the rig and the board and the power in the rig in the right place, because you can't just say, like, if I tell you what, realistically, if I say what you should do is when you're at the top and you're looking down, like I said, your hips, so your board's pointing almost up to the sky and your sail's open, is your hand is back to push the rig forward. So again, some people get this analogy, so I'll try and do it for some people who might do it.
So,
but
yeah.
if you want the board to accelerate, so if you're coming down and you need to do more rotation, you lean the rig to the back. If you want to stop the rotation, which is usually what happens in a back loop, you push the rig forward. So if you imagine when you're learning to windsurf and you're sailing along, if you want to bear the nose off the wind, you lean the rig to the front, and that bears the nose off the wind. So if you think like when you're up in the air and you're coming down, you want to bear the nose away from you, so you push the rig forward. You know, it's the same with a forward loop. When you throw the rig forward, because you're trying to push the nose of the board off the wind. If if you're going along learning to windsurf and you lean the rig to the back, that pulls the nose up into the wind. So if you put that into a back loop, you're coming down. If you kind of lean back, which most people do when they get scared, it accelerates everything. And that's why people go wrong, because they come up, they sheet in. So then as they go over the top, their rig is essentially doing a tack, and they accelerate for like another rotation.
Yeah. Because I think the other thing is, for me, it took me ages before I actually ended up in the ocean and waves, because I learned on a lake, and it was a lot of, like, I was basically like I was on flat water for a long time. So by the time I even got to the point of even trying back loops, I was already like, the problem is, the longer you leave it, do you think it's the harder it is, isn't it? Because you've started habits and stuff like that. So basically, by the time I got into the ocean, it was so hardwired in me not to be coming down nose first in anything. Like, by that stage, so this is the other thing with back loop. You're coming down just nose first, and there's no other real move I'm doing in windsurfing where I'm coming down nose first. That's why I like watching those old windsurf videos when they just did a chop hop and they came down nose first, and they landed and did that scoop thing. But I never did that. I always do a chop up and just sort of land a bit more, a bit more tail first kind of thing. So that's the other issue for me with back loops. It's just the mental thing. You're coming down nose first going, oh, this is a bit of a weird position to be in. But anyway, thanks for that.
Yeah, no, again, the consistency. I mean, you live in a great place for it, and you just got to set yourself goals. But the biggest thing is to get filmed. I go back. That is my biggest tip for progression in windsurfing, is get yourself filmed. Because even if you get someone to film you, this is the way we used to train, which I used to do it with Bubble in Cape Town. We used to go, 20 minutes film. And you'd only film you. So usually people film, they go, yeah, I'll film you. And then they miss the two things that you really wanted on film, and then you can't learn. So we used to do 20 minutes, set the watch, 20 minutes, only filming, one rider, and then come in and swap, and they do 20 minutes. You could do that twice, or you do it once, whatever. We used to do it twice, and then we go home, have some dinner, or that could be even the end of the day of filming, then just go out free sailing. But we used to come back, Cape Town, dinner, lunch, or whatever, watch the videos, go, chat amongst ourselves. So because everyone's got little ways they look at things, and they can a little tip here, and you obviously critique your own stuff, and you're like, okay, I could change that. And then you go out for the afternoon session, not filming, and just go sailing, and kind of have that in your mind. You do that for 3 months, you really get progression. That's the ultimate goal. That was where I did most of my progression.
I think actually you just hit on something too that is probably a very good point when it comes to tips and trying to learn something. But the other thing I find, and I'm probably other people out there that can relate to this, but you get to a certain level with windsurfing that you're generally quite satisfied at, and then you go sailing and you don't really push through that barrier. You end up just going, oh, well, I'm happy with where I'm at. I don't need to be going out doing double forwards, or you know what I mean? Like you just, and that's, I think, the other issue with learning is obviously having that mindset where you go, you know what, I'm going to go out sailing this time, and I will crash a lot more than I maybe would like to. Because that's the other thing. Sometimes you go sailing, I don't really want to be crashing around all the time, because I just want to go for a sail and not especially for people who might not even sail very much. If you only sail once a month or something, you don't think I'm going to spend the whole time just crashing around for that once, or it's an interesting one too, isn't it?
What you need?
What do I need?
You need a challenge website. No, I was actually
just-
speaking with my man George earlier. Because we're doing this thing. We were going to do this ranking thing I talked about before. It's kind of morphed now into more like a challenge site, but it is for this type of thing. It's quite interesting to talk about it because, you know, like let's say you can set up your own challenges and give it to your mates, or we're going to set up some global challenges or windsurfing TV challenges, or brands can do a challenge. That's kind of the idea. And like I said, it can be heli tack. You know, it can be different genres of windsurfing or disciplines. It can be, or it can be all the same. You know, obviously we did the famous Big 5 challenge, which was floaty jump, tabletop, forward loop, but we, you know, and back loop, push loop, and everything. But we're going to make different ones at different levels and then mix some disciplines up. But I think this comes into, you know, just having something to motivate you. You know, some people don't sail with friends that are mega keenly motivated. So something like this, I think, will be a cool thing just to keep you, you know, like there'll be people out there who've never tried a heli tack. And I want to motivate people to learn stuff because, you know, I'd spent a lot of time learning freestyle, which is hard graft, but very satisfying when you learn a move. And at whatever level we're talking, you know, people go, oh, yeah, Ben, but you did the World Cup. But you're like, no, but even on a base level, doing sail and body 360s, carving 360s, you know, whatever level it might be, it's so satisfying when you put the work in and you get something, you know. It doesn't have to be a triple culo or something. It can be genuinely, like I was saying at the beginning of this podcast, this guy doing the perfect carb jibes. You know, this is a dream for a lot of people. And I think, yeah, it's interesting.
Well, the cool thing about windsurfing is it doesn't actually matter how hard the move is, but when you just learn something new, it's as exciting as anything else. I mean, when you first start windsurfing, just doing your first water start or your first carve job, I mean, it was probably, I don't know if there's been as much satisfaction as I think I got when I did my first carve jibe or something. Like, you know, when I was probably 15 or 14 or whatever I was, but you know, or just, you know, uphauling and get sailing. So this is the beauty of windsurfing, isn't it? It's just each of those steps is equally satisfying.
Okay, off the top of your head, moments in windsurfing that stand out, like through your windsurfing thing, like things that you can vividly remember, like, you know, could be a move, could be whatever. What are they? I was just, because you were talking, I was thinking, fuck, I remember that. I don't remember everything.
But yeah, sorry, you're relating. You mean for learning something, or just?
Well, for example, when you were talking, my first thought, weirdly, was when I learned to Spock and Spock 540. I can vividly remember my first Spock 540.
That's
F2
cool.
arrows, Maui project board, Ross Niger, wind like from the north, flat water. And I still can remember going around that thing and then, and it's such a cool feeling. I just remember it like so, like as the board went, anyone ever done a Spock 540? It was so cool. I was like,
that is,
wow.
Especially in a move like that, which not many windsurfers really can do, you know, like at the end of the day, isn't it? That's super cool.
But it's weird that I remembered that one. So then I'm thinking, this is what I was saying the other day on the channel. I was thinking maybe we should be doing more Spock, grubby, flackers, because those are the moves actually, which instantly I remember. I remember learning them. Like I can remember the feel doing the grubby in Maui, like my first ever trip to Maui. And I literally spent all the time at Camp 1 because we had a house right on the beach. It was so cheap. Now it's like ridiculous.
On the beach, nice.
It was like we were just walking out the house. Sail was rigged in the garden, and I was just killing myself trying to learn these grubbies. And I can still remember that as well. I was like, it's like such a
yeah. I don't look. I'd have to be honest, and I still think the very first stages when I was just so stoked when I got my first jibe and water start, because it's just a huge step in windsurfing. You know, before that you're uphauling, and all of a sudden you're, I mean, from uphauling to water starting is a huge thing.
How did you do it? Did you do the boom on the back of the board? Because that's how I did it. Because I can also remember that. That was a really good tip for me. I mean, now it's a bit different because the boards of different sizes, but it was always like resting the boom on the back of the board. If it didn't land in the right place, I was screwed. But if it landed in the right place, and I could slide the boom, and then I'll just wait there, waiting, and then suddenly
I actually, now that you say it, because it was that long ago, I couldn't really remember. But now that you say that, I'm pretty sure that's how it was done. Yeah, I guess just to help you, isn't it? Because you're just learning how to get the
Yeah.
boom out of the water. The other thing, I haven't really learned too much in the last few years because I mean, like the thing is here in Geraldton, the wind can get quite strong. Like like it's sort
Yeah.
of 35 knots or whatever. So just getting comfortable in stronger winds as well. I mean, I could always sail in a stronger wind, but there are days in Geraldton where you could be on like a 4 or 3-7 type weather, and then just getting comfortable where, like you might have seen on some of my videos where when you come in on the inside of at Corros, and you're planing, and then you sort of carve up into the wind a little bit and jump around and get backwind and do the backwinded tack, carve in. I'd never done. Like, yeah, like, and I'd never done those. Like over east, there's a lot of float and riding, and it wasn't really always good for that type of thing. So when I first got here and I saw a few people do it, I was like, oh, that looks cool. I want to do that. It took me a while. Like it probably took me a whole season from starting to, and then, so that was probably the last time where I felt pretty satisfied, because this is the other thing.
But surely that motivation, like that's like a local spot, and Jaeger is famous for that tack. I mean, he has got one of the best tacks in the business, and that is how he does it. So I guess like it's interesting, isn't it, how the local spot kind of rubs off on what you learn.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And look, Jaeger's he's doing stuff that I'll never be able to do as well. But yeah, it's I was going to say, this is the other thing maybe everyone else can relate to, but I have really come to the realization that I am just not a fast learner with certain things. Like there are people that will just, I don't know, like they learn to uphaul one season, and next season they're pulling off back loops or something. Like, what I mean? Like they just, and I've just, for whatever reason,
how many are trying? I would say how many are trying. I'm very interested to know that, because I would say, and this was going to be one of my big tips, which I haven't even said yet, but the one thing, and I have to say it now, sorry for butting in. It was just one thing I learned when I was younger, and it was really weird, and I don't know how this is going to come out, because every time I try to explain it, it doesn't come out very well. But there was a thing when I was younger, and I was at the lake watching this guy carve jibe and whatever. I always remember thinking, one day I'm going to be able to do that. And a year went by, and I wasn't doing it. And I remember thinking, it sounds so weird because it's so obvious, but I'm like, well, you're not going to do it if you don't keep practicing or trying it, and it was like a massive thing for me. It sounds so weird. This is my biggest tip, is to, like, you won't learn these moves ever unless you go out and go, I'm going to do it. And it's surprising how quickly you can get to learning them. I am not like a mega talented guy. Like when I remember Swifty, for example, when he was coming up from freestyle, he was just learning stuff. I can try and Ricardo and all these guys. It was just ridiculous. I was like a grafter, and it was because when I was younger, I went, you know what? I want to learn to duck jibe. And same thing. I was like, I'm going to learn to duck jibe in a few. I'll be duck jibe. And then I never tried any. And it sounds so obvious. I never learned. But I had this weird feeling that the older I got, I'd be able to do it. And it was such a weird, stupid thought that I just couldn't get out of my head, that I was like, you idiot. Of course you're never going to learn it. It's not just going to happen. You've got to go and put the work in. And that changed me totally. Like it was like I just then went out and just punished myself on certain things, and I managed to learn quite a lot of stuff. Like I had this trick book, which is what was motivating this challenge website thing I was on about, because I had this list of moves, both tacks, and I would tick it off, and I loved it. That was my motivation. I didn't give a shit about anyone else. I would get inspiration from everyone else, but my motivation was me and this list of tricks. And it was the same when I learned freestyle. Everyone got very one tacked, so they do everything on one tack. Oh, I only do switch on the way out. Oh, I only do these air moves on the way in. For me, I was obsessed with doing everything both ways, because that was kind of a massive deal. But not for anything else, apart from I just wanted to, if you can do it one way, and I can explain to someone like they're an idiot, oh, it's so easy, it's this, but you're like, go the other way, oh, I can't do it. And you're like, well, if you explain it, it always makes me laugh. If you explain to this guy how easy it is and how to do this that way, why can't you do it the other way if it's like as simple as just putting your hand here doing this? It's kind of weird, isn't it, when you do hear people explaining stuff?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. It's hard to know sometimes how much of it's in your head versus what you're capable of, because obviously at the end of the day, so much of the way we do things in life is through, is what you set in your mind. Obviously, like was that famous saying, if you think you can't do it, you're right, or something, obviously. Yeah. Or is it something? I don't know if I got that right, but
that sounds good. I like it.
Yeah. It's obviously, but it seems to me that there are people out there that do seem to have a gift of being able to just pick up things. I mean, everyone has talents, but mine's not probably becoming a pro windsurfer for whatever reason. I'm not. But that's okay. But that's okay.
In 2 years, how many back loops have you tried in 2 years? I bet you
I'd be hundreds.
Oh, hundreds.
Yeah. But I have landed them before. But it's just that I'm not. It's not like I can do a back loop and just bust it out. Like the guys here, for example, Jager. I honestly don't think I've seen him fall on one.
Crash, yeah.
I've never seen him crash.
Yeah.
Like not once. It's just so. That's But the other thing is, you mentioned about going out there and pushing yourself. It's probably a good mindset if you want to learn, is to every time you go sailing, just think, all right, there's just one move that I'm going to focus on. So when I get an opportunity, I'll do it. Because you can go sailing and just playing around, jibe, plane and have fun. That's cool. But if I say to myself, okay, every time I'm doing a turn, I've got to do a heli tack or something. And
it's pretty mad, because Ben Severn, I sailed with him quite a bit in Oz, and it was interesting when I learned he does very similar things to me. So there are quite a lot of people out there, I'm one of them, who sets myself mini tasks. I don't tell anyone. I sometimes do. But I'm like, okay, I'm not going in till I've landed 3 360s, and it sounds stupid, but it's just my way to keep myself
progressing.
Not that I don't enjoy just sailing around and doing stuff, but I always have not always, a lot of the time I have mini, or I used to for sure, not maybe so much now, but I kind of go, right, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. I'm not coming in. Sometimes it's going dark. Like I was at Coronation and going, I need a 360. And I'm like, God, another crash. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't go in. So I don't know. Sometimes I've failed, but it's a good motivator.
Yeah. And it is interesting because if anyone listening here can tell me what they think, but I've actually found myself noticing that a big part of the joy of windsurfing is just the feeling of progression. Like I found myself getting frustrated. I mean, like you'll go sailing, you can have a good time, but you think, I didn't actually push myself outside my comfort zone. I was just doing everything I know I can do, which is fine. But if I've had those sessions where you go, you know what, I'm just going to try this, and you might fall in 100% of the time, but you get back on the beach and go, well, you tried. Good on you for trying, at least. Like there was a satisfaction in that. Wasn't it?
It's interesting you say that, because I've been thinking about it more recently. So I have these two modes of sailing. Maybe I've got more, but there's at least two. And one of them is I go out and it's almost like a de-stress where I don't really try anything new. It's like a feel-good session, if I'm going on a flat water beach, I'll do all the lay downs. I'll just go quick. I'll do everything I can do that feels good. And I'll come in and I'll just be blasting around and I'll feel like, yeah. And then there's the other session where I go out and I want to learn something, or I want to do something new. And then that's like the progression session. And they're totally different feelings, And I always remember Jem Hall, who's, obviously a well-known coach. He looked at me at the lake in Cape Town. He's like, dude, just go do something you can land for something. Give yourself the feel-good factor. Or, I'd just be punishing myself. I'd crash every run. It wouldn't stop me. I'd be like hours just going.
Yeah, right.
Like I was a bit of a grafter. But again, it was a weird one because when I heard him say that, I thought maybe that is right. Maybe you've got to teach your brain you can land stuff and give you the confidence back and then come back at it again. But I always had this way of just trying to change something until I kind of it cracked, because my most biggest breakthroughs, it's really strange, and I don't know if anyone out there has got these feelings, but I'll be trying to learn a move, freestyle especially, but it's been in the waves as well, and something will happen, I crash, but something happens, and it's like this frigging light bulb goes, you've got it, that's it. And I've said it, even I haven't landed one that day, I've come in to the boys and gone, I've got it. And they're like, shut up, you crashed everything. I'm like, honestly, I felt it. Something changed. And this is what I was saying about back loops. There's a feel. You've got to put the work in. You've got to change stuff up. You've got to have a goal that you're trying to reach, which obviously helps if you've got video, because then you can kind of analyze it. But you've got to put your work in, because it won't just happen. And usually in windsurfing, there's too many things going on. Like I see some coaches going, right, you got to put your hand back, do this, do this, do this. You don't windsurf like that. We don't walk like that. You don't think of every toe movement, knee position. You just walk. You look where you're going and you walk. And windsurfing and wave riding, a lot of this is all like that. And there's maybe one tip or one key thing to think about, but you can't think about every detail because everything is too slow and mechanical. So usually you've got to put the work in and try and find the feel you're looking for. Sounds weird, but this comes from me and experience. Carb driving, everything, you've got to find the feel. And the only way you find the feel is to put the work in, change stuff, have a goal, try and think, okay, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to get the rig forward. I'm trying to get the rail in. I'm trying to, whatever. And you've got to try and find the feel. And this is, for me, has worked massively.
Yeah, no, that's that makes sense. What was the other thing? You just said something that I was about to go off on a tangent. Oh yeah, since this whole topic is about tips and you're talking about your mindset. Was the other thing I found was whenever I have any moments of hesitation, as soon as I hesitate, it's usually 99% of the time, probably 100%, it's going to go wrong. That's the other thing, is just somehow, like when I was learning those, because Toby Lane here is saying Anton Payne style backwind tack. So Anton is a local here in Geraldine, and he's obviously seen the videos of Anton doing those backwind tacks, and he's, no hesitation, just goes into it, gets around. So when I was learning those, you're planing along, and then you're like, oh, okay, I've got to get around the other side. Oh, okay. And you sort of start wobbling your feet around and washing off speed. And then, speed's your friend with stability. That's the other thing. When you're on a short board, basically the faster you're going, the more stable the board is. And it's very hard to nosedive it if you're going around the front, when it's far, when you're tacking. Yeah. So, but anyway, so that was just another thing with this whole topic of tips, is this just, if you're learning something like that, for example, when I was learning this backwind tap, is just go, you know what, stuff it. I'm just going to just throw myself around. And I guess the worst that can happen is that I fall in the water. Okay, it might hurt a little bit, but it's water. But usually when you do that, you surprise yourself and go, oh, okay, that wasn't.
It's not that bad. That's where the video can come in, because you can relive that moment and you go, and that kind of, for me anyway, really keeps me motivated. Once I see things, then I feel like, like the feel is good, but also seeing it and going, that is definitely, I'm on the right track. Obviously the feel is everything. The video is just confirmation of it. It's definitely interesting. And again, when you're saying about the tacks coming in, muscle memory, practicing foot movements, because you need speed, but the problem is with speed and water and windsurfing, it's draining. When you crash, there's a lot of effort involved in getting back up, getting the rig out of the water. So windsurfing, we're not blessed with an easy sort of kind of repetition, because conditions change. So if you can find some way that, let's say you're trying to do this tack, is to use like something like this microphone, like on the floor, as your mass base, and practice your foot movement around it on the beach. The more you practice, doing that foot movement, curling your foot around the base, because that makes a huge difference. If you've got I haven't got much here, bowl. So that's the base of the board, like that. If you have your foot here compared to here, it makes a huge difference. Again, it's hard to show you that video, but when you curl your foot, if you're going in for a tack, around the base first, when you move your other foot, you're ready to step back straight away. So it's like two movements. Whereas if you don't have your foot around the base, when you step forward, you can't get around. So you'd have to do this double shuffle. And this also makes a big difference. So, finding out the way you can practice foot movements, rig position, on the beach, wave riding, anything that you can keep the repetition, because we're not always blessed with consistency, having that kind of way of trying to train it. I've been looking into that more recently to do on the Send It Academy, and it is difficult because it isn't, nothing beats getting out there, but there are certain things that you need to kind of drum in. And it can really help visualizing. Maybe I've talked about this before, but there was this famous, I think, basketball thing where they took like two teams of the same level, blah blah blah, or from the same team, and they made, I think there was 3 sets of people they took, but one of them they made actually shoot baskets for an hour or whatever the time limit was. Then they had another set of people who did nothing, and another set that just visualized putting the ball in the basket, and then you had to shoot so many baskets after this. The winning group was obviously the ones that visualized it, and you're like,
it's interesting, isn't it?
That's really interesting. Really interesting. So and that's been proven in lots of different sports and whatever. So in windsurfing, if you watch a lot of windsurfing videos, if you visualize yourself wave riding and the movement, and you just can really feel it, you will be surprised on the difference that makes to your sailing. It is, honestly, and you might be laughing at me. A few people, oh, shut up, what am I going to do in the lounge? But honestly, it makes, if you want to learn a move, if you watch, especially there'll be certain videos that look like your home spot or where you sail or someone you want to emulate. If you keep watching that and you feel it, you try and visually see yourself landing it, you will be 100% surprised. It could be a carb jibe, could be a duck jibe, all the stuff you can practice. You can practice duck jibing on the beach, can really practice duck jibe. If you want to learn to duck jibe and you're not practicing on the beach, you're an idiot, because you're wasting so much time, because you go on the water, you go to do the duck jibe, you haven't got your hands sorted, and then you crash, and then you try to cash a few times, you give up. On the beach, you can literally just practice light winds, practice obviously the right technique. Make sure you look it up so you're doing the right thing. And then when you get to the water, your hands are already doing exactly the right thing, and you can concentrate on your jibe. There's so many ways of doing that. I mean, heli tack, it's exactly something you can practice on the beach. Don't do it obviously in the wind if it's too windy, and you kind of want to have it on a base, so it does it. So it's kind of, you can move it around.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Good point. With all this tips and technique, G Pass.
We'll have a look through the comments, I think, because otherwise we're going to be.
Yeah, G saying, Ben, we need you and Whippy here in Australia to do some coaching. We've talked Australia,
we have talked about it, Mr. Dixon, because obviously Colin spent a lot of his good years in Gero back in the day, and he's been reminiscing. We've been talking about doing it. It's just very difficult because I've had 2 kids, and that has actually put a stop on a few things. But they are getting older, and when they get older, it gets a bit easier on the missus if I have to leave, or maybe if they get a bit more older, when we can actually bring the whole family. But Oz is a bit of a logistic nightmare and expensive, because you have to rent a van, you have to do, the flight, the gear. It is expensive, but it's an epic place. It's maybe it's going to happen at one day. That for sure has to.
Cool. George is saying, good morning from Delaware. Stoked for this podcast, and we'll watch it. I think that's what he was basically saying there.
Got a few Georges tuning in, anyway.
Yeah. So Nick is saying, what opened a whole new world for me as a free rider was joining a slalom clinic.
Yeah,
Hmm,
I can
that's
imagine
cool.
that. Be interested to know which or who. I know Geordie's done some. I guess Preen is doing some as well. But these guys, they've gone through all the stuff to get to being a top slalom racer, which means tuning, having your gear set up. You might have the best gear in the world, you've got your new Simmer gear, the best gear in the world. But if you rig it wrong, it ain't gonna do what it should do. You've got to take some time to understand how to rig it, how it works the best. We've had the podcast with Paré on here before, talking about fins, and okay, you don't need to get that much into it, but just understanding what you need to understand is my gear set up well, or am I fighting something that is actually shit? You could give your kit to a pro and they might go, what the hell are you doing? This is totally set wrong. Not a pro, but, someone who understands the gear. And I had this problem with foiling first come out. You'd get a foil and you'd be like, oh my God, I'm shit. Someone else would be cruising around. You think, oh my God, they're so good. How are they so good? And then you have a go on their foil. You're like, oh my God, it's like autopilot. And this happens a lot. So sometimes getting people to go on your gear and suss it out can be helpful. And, in freeride especially, have you got a good fin? Is your board tuned up? And I'm sure that's what Nick would probably be saying. But again, no.
George, again, saying also striving to sail with better sailors is key too.
Yeah.
That's definitely something you can, that helps, isn't it? It's something to strive for and inspire
you. Get pulled along, like with all aspects in life. If you hang around with rich people, you're probably going to do all right for yourself. If you hang around with poor people, you're probably going to get dragged down the wrong road. So, you hanging out with good sailors is a good thing, and people who are pushing the level. They don't even have to be good, but I watched the rise of Bals Muller. He turned up to Silt, and he was one of these guys who he looked like a nutter. He'd got this helmet on. He'd got this, I don't know. You were like, what's this guy? What's his deal? This guy, isn't it? Well, is he going to make it? And you realize that, so, I don't know how many years on now, he is just such a freaking hell man. He has got no limits in his mind. I freaking love him. Like I think he's just so inspiring. This guy is a dad.
Why?
He's not young anymore, and he has absolutely set his level. He's like a Mark Angulo. He's looking to progress, and he's doing his winging stuff. He's doing this. He's doing that, and then he gets on a windsurfing board, and he's bringing, I think, stuff that he's doing in winging back to windsurfing, which is obviously his level is off the scale. And he just doesn't have a freaking upper limit. It's like he hasn't capped himself. He hasn't said, oh, yeah, that's my limit. Most people get to a level and they go, yeah, I'm happy. Stay there. He's at the top level and he's like, no, he's got a move list. He's got this little book. He writes everything in and he's just like, he's mad. He's like, his brain is
mad scientist. Yeah.
I don't know what's happening in there, but you see his book. It's crazy.
Oh, that's interesting. How come, I don't know if I've ever seen footage of him wave sailing. Does he wave sail? Or what's
I've seen him wave sailing in Nauru with no foot straps.
Oh, what?
Because
really? I didn't realize he was here.
Oh. Yeah, he totally bust his ankle, and he didn't want to sit on the beach, as Balls doesn't want to sit on the beach. So he's like, well, I don't want to mess my foot up. So, and it was like mast high, like logo high, probably logo high. Okay. And he's going down Nauru with no straps, which if you've ever tried to sail with no straps, it is so hard because you can't lean. It's like windsurfing. You need to kind of lean and press, and it's just insanely difficult.
What?
But yeah, he was giving it a good go.
Serious? So it was like proper mast high, like waves.
Well, not mast high, logo. I'd say logo. There's been some footage somewhere. There'll be some
logo's still decent out there.
Yeah, like head to logo. You know the days where it's like every
yeah. It's a bit one. So, and how did he go with the no straps?
Terrible. No, joking. Oh. No, he did all right. He did all right. I'm gonna have to ask him for the footage because it is kind of funny.
God, geez, I've never actually thought about that. Wave sailing without foot straps. That must be pretty hard.
Rough.
That must be really hard. Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard.
It'd be easy
Have you
for
ever been
your
on a
foot to
stop?
just sort of
Have you been
slip
on a
off.
stop?
Yeah.
You've been on a stop and you try to bottom turn it and you're like, because there's no foot straps. When you've got a foot strap,
I know, but
you can drive the board. It's like such a different experience.
yeah, but it'd be even harder on a windsurfer because you got the sail. It's a lot more power in the windsurfer, isn't it, than the sub? G saying, Paul, don't rush the heli tack. Get the nose of the board through the eye of the wind. Yeah, believe me, the board is, I'm properly backwinded and basically sailing. I could sail backwinded, just sailing along, on a broad reach. But for whatever reason, I think
it sounds like your sail's too far back. It sounds like you're too far back. Because if you go through the eye of the wind, then you would go into a 360. Whereas if your rig is forward, you'll naturally want to flip it, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll try that, Benny, and try to exaggerate that movement. Benoit is saying, for heli tacks, I go from having the mast far away when backwinded, but get it back closer to my body before flipping the sail. Oh, okay. So like it's backwinded and you sort of got your arms sort of stretched out a bit just for control, and then get it close to your body when you flip. Yeah. Well, that's a good point too. It's also because by doing that, you're sort of standing pretty upright as well, getting your weight over the top of the board, I imagine, is maybe also the benefit of that. Nick, without it, I would never have used a big enough sail to get enough pressure to really start riding the fin. Suddenly, everything I'm sailing much more active and fast. So this is related to Nick saying that he went on a slalom clinic.
Yeah, I would say that because you don't realize how powered up some of these guys are sailing. I know when I'm at the beach and everyone's like, what are you rigging? I'm like, no, bloody hell. But yeah, it makes a big difference.
Peter Olsen saying, I was going windsurfing at a Swedish skiing resort tomorrow. Any tips? What is there, a lake there or something?
I think windsurfing at Swedish. Yeah. So is he going to go windsurfing on the snow?
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what he means. Not exactly sure.
A lot of people have done that in the past. Levi Siver, obviously, with that famous video, but a few of the others doing it.
Yeah.
Val saw some quite crazy stuff with him on the windsurfing thing.
JK, best tip when progressing down from bigger freeride boards to smaller wave or freestyle wave boards was to press through my front foot more and less back foot pressure. Yeah, well, obviously, because when you move to smaller boards, the board has a tendency to, if you don't have the technique right, to round up into the wind a lot easier because you do have to put a fair bit of mast foot pressure on to keep the to keep it going. But obviously, after a while, it becomes second nature, and you know exactly how much pressure. But when you're coming from bigger boards, that's definitely the case. You have to push.
And less fin, obviously. Like with the big freeride board or whatever, you've got big fins, so you can be kind of back foot heavy. Whereas when you get on the more, smaller wave boards or smaller fin boards, you can't be as back footy. Yeah.
Wade is saying here, Paul, you should watch some of your vids of Jaeger doing them. So, well, the funny thing is, editing Jaeger's video, I've seen probably more than anybody in the world Jaeger sailing because I spent bloody countless hours editing his video. So believe me, I watch it trying to understand it. But yeah, it's obviously like the thing is, I can see what's going on. It's one thing when you see it, you go, oh, yeah. But then when you're out there and try to make it happen, it's obviously, that's where it goes a bit off for me. But anyway, this season, I'll try and make it more consistent. Benoit saying, you can also exit them clue first and hold that for a moment. Okay, so back to the heli tack. So exiting them clue first. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Didn't think about that too much, but that's a good point. I'll experiment with that one. Geez, more about the heli tack. Mango Tree, what's he saying here? Mid-air musing, sail backwards equals rotate, sail forward equals stop rotation. Okay, so this is obviously related.
I was saying,
Yeah, cool. Nicholas Dam saying video learning, observe yourself, and mental training after when a coach has told me what to change work good for me. Yeah, well, that's what you said, Benny. If you could see yourself in a video, that's probably the biggest thing, isn't it? You can see what you're actually doing. So yeah, if anyone gets a chance, someone to film you, that's a good way to go. Adrian from South Africa, I've been more hurt trying back loops than forwards. Yeah, okay. That's
it happens.
yeah,
Usually the over
lot of
rotation onto the ear is the one, or you land over the top with your foot. Backies are, they feel safe when you don't rotate, but when you start rotating and getting it wrong, they can be pretty lethal.
Yeah. Also, Adrian said, yeah, and Adrian says here as well, his first planing calf jibe, never forgot it. The stoke was massive. I mean, that's a huge one. Because I think the thing with the calf jibe too is there's two things going on. There's the transition aspect of it, that you're actually getting around to the other side, but it's also pretty much one of your first experiences of carving a rail successfully.
Yeah.
Which is which is obviously the foundation for getting into waves and stuff. So it's a huge, isn't it? The carved jibe it's huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
Martin stepped it up a bit. He's saying his first big wave in Hawaii was his most memorable moment. Well, that's actually a good point. Well, you get into the waves and get a big one, then yeah, that's a good thrill, isn't it? Adrian saying, and my first ocean session, big board and sail, no waves really, just saw about 10 small hammerhead sharks at Plettenberg Bay. That's actually also a good point. Obviously, depending where you are in the world, maybe you have to learn on the ocean. Like I said, I was actually learnt on a lake, and I was there for quite a few years before I managed. Yeah,
How many years before you went to the sea?
Well, I started learning. I think the first time I went windsurfing, I was probably 9 or 10 or something like that. But the problem with where I was living in Sydney, and the lake was about a 30-minute drive from where I live. So the only way I could get there was getting a lift with my dad. And I was lucky if I was going once a month, or in a year I might go 10 times. So as you can imagine, so what's that?
Go on then. Now, how long?
Oh, well, so that went for, basically for my, since I was 10, 11 till I was about 18, or, 16, 17. Then I got my license. Yeah. But the thing is, you can add up the amount of times you go sailing, but if you can go 3 times a week for 3 months, you're probably going to learn a lot more than once a month for 5 years, or, you know what I mean? Like the problem was I had these big gaps between the sailing. Anyway, and then I eventually moved to, and the other problem was for quite a few years, I was sailing on this board called a Mistral Malibu. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
It's basically, it was what my dad had. Like we just had this longboard, and I actually had to learn to carve jibe and do everything on that Mistral Malibu. I didn't have anything else.
I had a Pandera, Mistral Pandera.
Oh, right. I don't know. Was that also like a longboard or?
Yeah.
Okay.
330 maybe.
Yeah. But like, you remember how far the back straps were? Like to even get in the rear straps on the board, the distance from the mast strap to the strap was massive. Like it was so hard to get in the straps, and also to jibe that thing. I mean, I would struggle to do a carved jibe on that board right now. Like,
I want to do some of this old school. I want to get a load of boards here in the next summer, because we've got such a good bay here, flat water, and take them out just to give them a carved jibe in, whatever, just a bit of nostalgia.
Yeah. That's cool. But going back to your original question, is when I first got on the ocean. Then I moved to Perth when I was about 21, 22. And then I basically went to, if anyone's been to Perth, there's a spot there called Dutchies. That was the first time I ever went in the ocean, was Dutchies. And that was a huge thing for me, because it was all, I remember at the time thinking, oh, shit, the ocean, like, oh, what,
Is that why they call it Dutchies?
Yeah.
You were there.
Yeah. It was a good spot for me to start. But I remember when I got into the ocean, one of the big things I remember at the time, because I was a bit of when you think about it, 21, 22 is actually quite late to first go in the ocean, isn't it? Like that's by that stage. Yeah. So I was a bit of it took me a while to get there, but I remember thinking how much better the wind was on the ocean than the lake, because I was so used to gusty winds, and like in Sydney as well. So that was, yeah, it's actually
Those are things that can kill you in the lake in Sydney. I guess those are things that kill you in the sea.
well, funny thing was, when I was growing up in Sydney or Australia in general, like nowadays when people think of Australia, they think sharks and all that sort of stuff. But for many, many years in Australia, there was hardly a fatal shark attack. Like when I was growing up, like it was, someone might die and they'll say, oh, it's the first person in 15 years. You know what I mean? Like it was a big thing. Nowadays, there's like 2 or 3 people a year or so, or you know what I mean? Like it's like a yearly thing. So when I was growing up, it never really entered your thought much, because it just hardly ever happened. And now you think about it, because it seems to happen. But there's a lot more people in the water now as well.
And the internet is a lot easier to get all this news, before you're kind of reliant on the main news to tell you.
Yeah.
Always.
But for sure. But this lake I learnt on was called Narrabeen Lake, and it actually was connected to the sea.
I was going to say that's next to the sea, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's right next to. So it was actually pretty good for a windsurf spot.
You didn't sail in Summer Bay in Palm Beach?
Oh, that's Palm Beach. Yeah, that was a bit further. Like that's quite a lot way. I didn't have a car. Like it was a long way to get there. But there is actually.
It's still the sea, isn't it? Narrabeen. It's the back end of the beach, isn't it?
Well, it's a lake that has a connection to the ocean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's hard even to see the connection, because it's not like you're on the lake and you're looking at the sea. Like there's it's like a little river passage thing.
Yeah.
But the thing was, back when I was a kid, you'd fall off and everyone's splashing around and just swimming around. But since then, of course, and with mobile phones and the internet, you find out that there's bull sharks in there.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I remember just thinking, as a kid, I would just fall off and just splash around in there. Like now, I wouldn't want to do that now, but it's just
bull sharks not the best reputation.
Yeah. But look, again, obviously with sharks, the risk is so low. Like it's obviously there's so many other ways you can die, but. Yeah, unfortunately.
Would you go and want to learn to heli tack in Narrabeen Lake right now?
Oh, look, it'd be fine. Look, the thing is, mate. Well, mate, I sail at Jarrow and I've seen pretty big sharks here, so it's like they're around there.
The lake with bull sharks seems worse than the sea with great whites. I don't know why.
Yeah. But look, the thing is, I'm no hero. Like if I fall off, I'm not swimming around for 5 minutes like either. I'm pretty good at water starting.
Have you got an uphaul on your way?
Look, if it's 10 knots, I'll put an uphaul on it for sure.
I was going to say, most Aussies, if they're a hero or not, they've got an uphaul. Because there's nothing worse than being like kicking your legs, and it's always this moment where you go, I've been kicking for a bit too long now. Like I need to get up.
Oh, the worst is when you sail out the back of you go a bit further out than you normally would, and you fluff your jibe, and then the mast just goes kind of like down into, how it does that weird thing, and you just can't get the bloody thing out. It's sort of no matter which way you're pulling at the mast, it's almost like you're making it worse.
I like that. There's no shark going to attack you with that massive thing in the water. That's what I think. I think like a shark doesn't usually go, they have a little look for a bit. So the worst thing you can have is your sails up and your board's there and your just legs are going ding, 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 ding. So that's the worst. Like let's say the wind's totally dropped and you're having to swim in, and always put the sail in the water.
Actually, I'll tell a quick shark story. I was in Perth, 21, 22, whatever it was, and a guy got attacked by a shark. It was 2001 or something, and it's a terrible story, but basically he was swimming a few meters off Cottesloe. If anyone knows Perth, it's like the main beach. The story goes, huge shark, 5-meter great white, literally chomps this guy in half. Like just right in front of people, he just obliterated. And it was just, everyone was like, oh my God, this is the worst, Anyway, this is middle of summer, windsurfing season, and I'm working in a windsurf shop at that time. And I was windsurfing most days after work, and they closed all the beaches. They said, that's it. You know, you're not going in because there's a shark around. So after about a week, every day was wind. And after a week, I was getting itchy feet. I was with my friend who was worked there, and we like, we got to go, huh?
Athlete's foot? No, you
said, what's that?
He said you were getting itchy feet. So
oh, okay. And so we were kind of like, let's you know, we've got to go for a windsurf. I mean, this shark, I mean, bloody hell, what are we going to do? Is like the shark could be anywhere, right? So we get there, we go down to the beach. There's no one, like no one in the water. It was closed. They closed all the beaches. And it was one of these weird days where it was this flunky wind where it looked windy, but it also kind of didn't. I don't know. It was weird. It was one of these weird days. So we got on the water, but it was, we got on the board, and it looked like the wind was just 50 meters in front of us. So we go, oh, the wind's just out there. So we sort of putt out to the wind, but every time you get to the wind line just seems to keep, it's like we were chasing a carrot, you know? Anyway, and we were just stupid, and we just kept chasing this wind line. And before long, we were, I don't know how far out, like K or two, like way out. And then the wind just completely died, like just shut down, and literally in 0 knots, I'm about a K or two out, and I'm just drifting in the water. I'm going, what am I doing out here? Like how? What? A guy just got chomped in half. Like I started going, that's it. I'm like, this is how it's going to end for me. So basically, we had to de-rig our sails. Obviously, like there's no thing. Rolled it all up. And then we just huddled together and then just paddled. I swear it took 2 or 3 hours plus. And we drifted a fair bit down. Oh, dude, every paddle I took, I was
where
just
was this?
Off Dutchies.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I basically, I swear to God, I'll still actually, you talk about the most memorable moment in windsurfing. That was probably it, because I remember every stroke, I was just waiting for something to come underneath and grab me. Like it was... Dude, and we got close. We drifted off down. When eventually we got back to the beach, there was a crowd of people along this rock groin and just pointing at us, because like it was this massive news story, right? It went all around Australia, and people are pointing. They're seeing 2 guys on a board, just like moving at snail's pace, just paddling through the water.
That is the worst situation you could be in, because that's how a shark gets you.
Mate, like, I swear.
Sums you up for a while, and then he might have a go. So,
dude, I'm telling you, I was. Dude, I mean, I was relatively calm, but at the same time, I remember I was kind of just every stroke, just going, just get me back onto land, just get me. And obviously, when we got back, there was actually police waiting, because they were patrolling the beaches, telling people not to go in. And they were like, "What the hell are you guys doing out there?" And I said, "Yeah, sorry, man, we want to go for a windsurf." And anyway, it was just, that was that. Yeah. So, but the funny thing is with windsurfing, I've been out, probably thousands of sessions in my lifetime. It's actually very rare that I've been caught out with the wind like that. That was just one of those weird.
Go to Maui more often.
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, that's true. Well, actually, I was there, obviously, and it happened to be there. Good point. It did happen to me there, and I was there for virtually.
I mean, it does. The Maui gets everyone.
Yeah. Now Maui's gnarly.
Sixth sense where it just, it's happening, and it's like I weirdly have it. I don't know why. I'm like, something don't feel right. I come in and then suddenly I'm like, oh, I've never had to do it. I haven't never had the proper one.
I actually wonder how many people, you talk about coming to Australia and Gerald, and I wonder how many people don't come here because they're worried about the shark thing as well.
A lot of people. Same in Cape Town.
Yeah.
It's so weird. When you go there, Aussie's a different one. I'll say one thing. In Oz, I didn't like surfing. I really didn't feel comfortable surfing, because nearly all the surf breaks are like a reef break. So you're a bit too far away, and it doesn't matter, because they say sharks, it doesn't really matter anyway. You're not going to survive. But if someone sees one and you're on a beach break, you kind of think, well, I'm going to get in. Whereas on a reef break, you've got that big bit of flat water. And it'd be like you paddling in Cotslow. Like, you're just like, oh, fuck. And the only reason you're paddling in is because you've seen a shark or someone. It's like Lansing. People were surfing in Lansing Passage. And you're like, that swim in is horrendous. We did it at Kanaha in Maui, and I didn't even know there's sharks. It sounds stupid. I was very naive. I was like, Maui, it never felt like there was sharks.
No,
it wasn't
it's
like,
different. Well, the water's
like
clear.
Australia or South Africa, where there's this big reputation. Maui hasn't got a reputation, but actually there's way more like tiger sharks and shit going on. And especially in Kanaha next to the harbour, there's like, it's not great. And we were like doing the long paddle, not caring the world, like didn't even, it's so oblivious. And Waiahu as well. There's like a tiger shark there. We were surfing on our own, having a lovely old time. I've got no clue.
Yeah.
It's really sharky.
Yeah, but I will say for anyone that's considering coming to Australia, it's overblown, the shark thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're out there and I've seen them, but it's like at Coros, there's just literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people sailing over a course of a summer and people falling in. It's not.
Well, in Australia, though, from my reckoning, for when I was there and I was doing that kind of thing, usually the guys that get done by sharks are bodyboarders or people that are surfing in particular.
Well, definitely surfing. Yeah.
There's like certain locations. So the wave, if it has a very deep and then goes shallow very quickly, usually that's what sharks like. Not that I'm a shark or I've got friends that are sharks, but usually the beaches, like I remember near Margie's, a whole coastline, there's lots of sharks, but usually the most attacks come at a particular spot at a particular beach. It's like they certainly like it. Coros is kind of shallowly shelving, so it's not this doesn't happen very easily at a place like that. Cue the
I'm laughing because go onto YouTube and type Great White Shark Coronation Beach. Have you ever done that?
No, I don't want to.
Nah, but they're fine. It's not that big a deal. It's anyway. We'll move on from sharks. Tony is basically saying that is why windsurfing is so rewarding. You literally never stop learning. Throw in the elements, and it's different every time. Yeah, that is it. I mean, look, lots of sports have challenging elements to them, but windsurfing is definitely up there when it comes to a challenge. That's for sure. Isn't it? Yeah, I think I find that there's a certain type of person that gets into windsurfing too. You have to be very resilient. Well, resilient to like you have to be happy to fail quite a bit. If you're impatient,
like struggle, haven't you?
Yeah.
I think that's like quite a key element. Like a lot of windsurfers, if they get to a certain level, are very tenacious. They don't give up easy. Which can make some very strong personalities, but they're usually people that, like everything. I said the same thing to someone the other day about kids. It's very similar to windsurfing. It's a fucking struggle, and you're like, why the hell am I doing this? But then there's like the reward is massive. Like you're like, oh, this is great, and then you're like, oh my god, this is shit, and then you're like, hey, it's fucking amazing. So it's like a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's an awesome sport for just I don't know, dealing with your mental game. I find it's cool. It is, isn't it? It's pretty cool. Like
concrete. That's going to be a mental game.
Oh yeah, gate. Ben's been sending me messages how he's all feeling manly because he made his gate in concrete and everything.
Oh man, I got big man points at the moment.
Adrian, again, for 8 years, I sailed on a small lake. After a few years, I became the best sailor there, and then my progression sort of stopped. I wasn't surrounded by what I'm surrounded now. YouTube did not exist. Yeah. So obviously, as Ben was saying before, it depends who you surround yourself with. Yurko, we've got a new contributor. For jibing, best advice was change your feet at last. Make the whole jibe, switch the sail, and last change your feet. Actually, that's an interesting one too, because there's obviously different ways that you can jibe, whether you do the foot change either during the jibe or after the jibe. Essentially, you're not
jibe. It's like step jibe or strap to strap, like the old school way. And the good sailors back in the day who didn't really have tuition, they just learned strap to strap was the thing. But it's not so easy. It's not so easy. The step jibe is more the way to jibe now for most people. But strap to strap, pretty cool when you get the guys that can do it.
Which way do you jibe, Benny?
Step jibe probably. I mean, I do everything. Depends on the situation.
Yeah, but that would be the main one. So Reese has actually clarified what I was trying to say before. This is that saying, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So that's how it's actually supposed to be said.
Oh, okay. I like the other
Reese. Oh yeah, well,
it's true. It's just half of the saying.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, it's crazy. It all comes from the mind. It's the more you realize how it dictates your life. It's nuts.
Everything.
It's nuts, isn't it? It's
Mm.
crazy. Adrian, dedicated 30 minutes to a move, then leave it and carry on having on. I've done it in the past. Actually, that's a good point too,
5 hours.
because oh yeah, well actually I was going to ask you that too, Benny, because that's where, sometimes you'll go, okay, I'm going to try to improve my back loops, and you spend 2 hours doing nothing but crashing, and then it's just progressively getting worse and worse, or your mindset's getting worse. Your mindset's getting worse and worse. Like, would you have any advice for that, where you just go, look?
Yeah, I think there's different personalities, so you've got to be able to judge yourself whether, if you're getting tired and your technique's slipping and you can't focus, and because you don't want to ingrain bad habits. That's the worst thing. So again, if you're older, less time. If you're younger, usually you can be, but you've got to be able to adapt. There's no point in doing exactly the same thing. If you go and try a back loop the same way for 5 hours, nothing will probably change. So you have to be able to think, what am I doing? It's not so easy, obviously, but it comes with practice, like anything. You've got to try and go, you've got to evaluate nearly every jump. Okay, so you take off one back loop, and the evaluation might be, well, the wave was shit, but I had to go. So you're not really learning too much there, but you're putting yourself in the situation. Next one, perfect wave. This is a good one to judge because you've got the good setup. What happened? I under-rotated. Oh, I didn't feel that. You've got to be able to try and understand. As soon as you're just going into it like a flop and you're not even trying to land, you're not focused, this is when you shouldn't bother trying.
Good advice. Martin Diman, struggling for over 40 years to do a normal tack on a waveboard. That's actually an interesting one, because I went straight to the planing backwinded tack, which is a more, I guess, advanced side of tacking. But I will say something about this, because it took me quite a long time to be able to tack on a waveboard, and now I feel quite comfortable. I think for me, what helped me a lot was really focus on keeping your feet, like when you put your foot, say, just in front of the mast, is really try to not move your feet beyond that. It's because if you actually look, people have a tendency maybe sometimes to step a bit too far forward than they need to, obviously sinking, and then putting a lot of pressure on the nose, and that unstabilizes the board. So put your front foot in front of the mast when in the tack, and then when you do the switch around, when you move your foot around, really try and get that other foot jammed up against the mast too. And the other thing I'll say too, Martin, is don't hesitate. Like, just when you do the move, just move faster than you think you're even capable of doing. There's a high chance you'll fall in, but the less hesitation, like if you can keep the board at least moving, even if it's just at a real slow pace, it'll be a lot more stable than if it comes to a dead stop.
I'm going to try and do something.
Huh? Yeah.
No, carry on. No, carry on.
Yeah. So that's what I found. Get the feet, not too far forward. Obviously, keep it jammed up against the mast, and just if you can have any forward momentum in the board, so round up into the wind, and while the board is still moving, go round. If you wait till the board, because that's the other thing I found, was that I would sort of get into the wind, hesitate, the board stopped, and then try to tack, and then the board just so way more unstable. If you could just have the board having that slight bit of forward momentum, you'll find a lot more stability. I hope that helps you. Sorry, were you going to add something?
Well, I'm just trying to add this camera. It might not work. Let's see if it works. This is an absolute, just don't judge me. I need to see something. You have to shout me if it works. I need to do something.
Oh, okay. This is through your phone. This is interesting.
Yeah. I don't want to show you this whole room. It's absolute. Is that working?
Well, there's a bit of hold on, let me just cut your mic. Okay, yep. Ah, this is cool. Yeah. But you see, even that foot there, like I would get it even a bit closer to the mast when you step around, huh? Oh. Yeah. Can you hear me, Benny, or not? No, hold on. Sorry, can you hear Benny?
Yeah, I had to turn the sound down because there was feedback. It's hard to see it, but what I was just trying to show you is that foot position. When you curl your toes around the mast, which I couldn't see what you could see. But if you curl your toes around, when you step, you only do 1-2 movements. Whereas if you actually don't put your foot around, when you move your other foot up, it don't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know how easy that was to see, to be honest.
Yeah, no, we could see that. That was good. I mean, I was just saying, you probably couldn't hear me, but I was you were still a few inches of your foot in front of the mast. I was sort of saying, even try to get the foot even a bit closer to the mast, right, or not?
Well, it's because I was trying not to knock the bottle over. But you could, if you can, like I say, when you wedge your foot, kind of curl it around, as you move the other foot, you can literally step out in front, and then you just put the one foot back because it's already almost pointing that way. And if you don't go, your front foot, when you put it up, if you put it level with the mast or even sometimes further back, then when you bring the other foot up, you've got to do another step, and it's like you spend. So on a long board, yeah, you get away with it on a big board because you can do as many things as you want because the board's so massive. But on a wave board, when you've got to be quick, you've got to minimize the movements. So that foot curled around the mast base, especially we say out in the clinic a lot, but those foam little circles that go over your mast base, if you sail in bare feet, they are like priceless.
Oh, the volcanoes.
Yeah, the volcanoes, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. You could just make a game where you just have to try and keep your foot at least somewhere on that volcano. The other thing as well, Martin, that helped me a lot was when I was learning and falling in a lot, I realized like I'll do the tack and then sort of fall back, towards the nose of the board, was that I was bringing the sail quite high up and almost like pulling the sail, like, when you're tacking around, it's like pulling the sail towards me and then I'm falling back. So when you're going around, is actually force yourself to get the sail sort of over the back of the board a bit more than you might think, because obviously when you have the sail leaning back, it forces the nose up. As soon as you bring the sail forward, it's putting all the mast foot pressure down. So when you're going around, just try to really, and also when you do that, you stand quite upright. So, because obviously as soon as you bring the sail up, your tendency is you're already leaning backwards. So yeah, that helped me a lot too, is try to get the sail back a bit when you're stepping around, and you'll be, that was what I thought. Tony, moving on. Reiterating what you said, Benny, definitely 2 modes, one for therapy and one for getting your ass handed to you. So yeah. Tony agrees with you there. JJB, once I started sailing with my kids, progression took a back seat and feel good dominated. Well, that's a good point, isn't it? Obviously, when you're your kids, then your focus is, I guess, teaching them and making sure that. And
that becomes your progression. You're still living that progression, just not through yourself.
Yeah. Actually, that's I don't have kids, but I reckon it'd be super satisfying to watch your kids get into it. And then he follows on by saying progression needs focus on yourself, but when your focus is on others, it becomes a different game. Yeah. That's right. Actually, I've noticed that there's been a few people here locally that have gotten into windsurfing that I've been able to help them by teaching. And there's a lot of satisfaction, actually, in seeing someone get into it, because it reminds you of when you started in the Stoke. Like, I have a friend here recently who's just started. She just started doing her first water starts the other day. And she did one. And then she was like, I didn't want to do one. But then she tried another 20 and couldn't do one. And then the next time or whatever, she did 3, and the smile on her face when she got back on the beach, I could tell she was, that was probably the moment where I feel like she's hooked now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's she was so excited. It's cool. There's a huge.
That's pretty cool that you got them into it, because that is a very satisfying feeling, because they are now, you've basically changed their life. That sounds a bit dramatic, but you have. When you become a windsurfer, it affects your life massively.
It's all gone downhill.
It's not one of them things where you just play every Wednesday, or you play once a month. It starts to dictate your life. Like the forecast starts to become way more like, it's quite interesting.
Yeah. And the other thing was with teaching someone, it's not as well. Look, I have to be careful what I say, because it depends where you are in the world. I think a lot of people are scared of teaching someone because they feel like, it's going to take up so much of my time. But what I found with teaching some of my friends here is, obviously you need to teach them how to uphaul and how to turn around and do those basics. But once they have that understanding, they can just happily practice that for ages while, you don't have to do much. I found it's not too bad, like you just teach them sort of the basics, and they can sort of run a lot, and just give them some help along the way. But anyway, encourage anyone out there, if you have anyone that you think might want to learn. It's obviously it's how windsurfing is going to continue being what it is, or growing. Is by people like us, passing on.
Well, did you see all the stuff from Maui recently with Swift and his kid? Pretty cool. I think that's the sort of stuff that should be happening over there. They live in such a good place. And I think the kids feed other kids. Like, this is what I know already from only having, a small sniff of it. But you see, if you want your daughter to do something, it doesn't matter what you say. She might, but if you see other kids doing it, it's like, do anything.
Definitely. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you get a lot of messages, Ben, because you're everyone knows you as Mr. Windsurfing. But I've noticed lately that I'm starting to get a few more people. They don't know me through any windsurfing channel, but I might open the boot of my van somewhere getting something out, and they see the windsurfer in the back. Like the other day, I was visiting a guy, and unfortunately this it's like a camp, and they got broken into, and there was two policemen there. Anyway, he came up to me, saw the van, he goes, "Oh, you windsurf?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, I'm thinking of getting into that." I was like, "Oh yeah, mate, you should. Like, down here, it's perfect down here." But this has happened to me a few times in the last few months. I've had a few people come up to me, and I'm sort of thinking, why is it that all of a sudden this is happening? I wonder if they're obviously starting to maybe they might come across it through a social media video or YouTube or just something, like they're seeing it somehow. It's kind of. Yeah, I'm just
you live in a perfect spot.
I know, but the amazing thing here in Geraldton is, there is like most people grow up in Geraldton have never even thought about windsurfing or even considered it. And I basically tell them, I said, "You're actually living in a place that's considered one of the world's best locations." They're like, "Oh, is it?" They don't even know half the time. It's interesting. It's not, because in Australia, windsurfing, it used to be like in the 80s, but it's just not a cultural thing. Like, over in Europe, windsurfing it's still kind of in the psyche somehow of the people or whatever. But in Australia, windsurfing, it's not really in there. It's not there, So it flies under the radar. It's quite interesting. Graham offered, "I took a whole year slowly learning to ride clue first, switch stance in onshore. Sometimes you got to keep trying. GoPro helps." Yeah, definitely. Clue first is teaching me a lot about sail control and finessing the power, because obviously when you got the sail around the right way, everything feels a lot easier. But yeah, like just finessing that clue first is cool, especially when you go into the waves, or if you want to play around with that type of thing. A switch stance, in onshore. Yeah, that's cool. He's playing around with different things. JJ, "What helped my tacks was placing hand on mast, which gets the rig raked back and jumping around mast very easily. Yeah, so this is going on from what I said, just anything you can do to help you get that mast raked back. And the mast is often the easiest part to grab because you've got the boom head. That can be a bit hard to know exactly how to grab that part of the boom. So yeah, the mast is a very common way to
again, this goes back to what I said about practicing that on the beach. If you put your board on the grass or wherever and you practice going around with your feet and your rig, you can rig up, be on the light wind day. It'll seem a bit like too keen, but it really does help. If you can polish that when no wind and just jumping around, getting the foot positions, getting the hand position. When you go planing or when you go out there, everything is way more natural. The more times you do it, your brain will remember it. You don't want to be thinking what you're doing with your hands. It needs to be muscle memory. So do everything slowly, and then just speed it up until it becomes just like walking. You don't think when you walk. You shouldn't think what your hands are doing when you tack. It's like when you were asking about heli tack before. If I'm going to learn a heli tack, I have to, because I don't coach it consistently all year, I have to kind of teleport myself back and go, okay, yeah, that's it. Or as soon as I see a video, I'm like, yeah, that. But it's sometimes difficult to remember because you just do it naturally. And that's what you want to be able to do.
I was thinking for a heli tack, it would be awesome to have, I've seen those setups that they have at the, at centers where the board is on some kind of swivel mechanism and you're standing on the board. Oh, really?
It's one of the most dangerous ones because if you get it wrong, your board spins round, you jump off, and then it cracks you in the shin.
Okay.
You must have had that. Like if you've got like a slow one or it's a little bit harder to move, but usually the ones are like on free.
Okay. I've never actually tried one. So now that you say that, okay. Well, it's
perfect, but you want it to not rotate too fast.
Okay. Max, hello lads. Biggest blocker, biggest something, not sure. For me is you get motivated, watch all the vids, PVB mainly. Then the freaking wind doesn't blow for 3 months and the moment has gone. Okay. He's probably saying the biggest motivator is, obviously is watching videos. Yeah, I know. And I'm the same. When I watch windsurf video, it obviously gets you in the mood. And then, obviously you need wind and to get out there, depending on what gear you have. If you've got a big longboard, you can get out there in 5 knots, but you might not be doing some of the stuff that's in the videos, but you can go in the water at least. Adrian, okay, what else we got here? Andy Wood, practicing in light winds on a bigger board really helps getting it fixed in your mind. Next time you're out, you have less information in your head. Yeah, so I'm assuming
it's like the muscle memory, whatever you can do to kind of ingrain technique without having the punishment of doing it. Like it can be visualization just in your mind, it can be actual muscle memory on the beach using something or taking a broomstick and whatever it might be. If you can get rid of a lot of it before you go sailing, it'll just happen when you're sailing without you thinking, which is where you want to get to.
Tony is saying here, taking lessons with Matt Pritchard in Maui completely put me on the right track. Corrected a lot of wrong habits I was getting into. That's cool. Yeah. Clinics are massive, aren't they? I've never actually done a clinic, but whenever I've seen a few happen down here at Coros, and when I see people on them, you see progression. Like they're definitely, it's obviously valuable.
It's also good. You pay money, so you're also then you put yourself in this mindset that, okay, for a week I'm on, and it sounds daft.
Get my money's, You're invested, are you?
You're invested, exactly. You're genuinely invested, whether you like it. And then what is also crazy, which we notice on the clinics, is it's just the atmosphere on the clinic. Because let's say you're with 10 other people or 9 other people or whatever, they are all motivated to learn. So you're also mixing with like-minded people who are keen to push. And, you might see someone at your level do something and it also then motivates you and then they're buzzing. So it's like it kind of, you get dragged along with it sometimes. It's really inspiring, actually.
Actually, you just said something too that I just thought about. I wonder how much of the ego element stops progression in windsurfing, because you know what it's like. You're at a spot, you might have friends around, and you go, "Oh, I want to learn to forward," and you think, "I'm going to look like an idiot in front of all these people, crashing." And I just wonder how much of that plays into people not wanting to push themselves too much too, because they just, I mean, it's probably a
I
minor
think,
thing, but
yeah, no, but I think
yeah.
you're right. Like it happens to me a little bit, or it has, and I see it with a lot of others, especially the coaches, because they're telling everyone how to do stuff. But let's say they've only learned it on one tack, and this is what I was saying before. And I'm a bit like that on starboard. I'm sometimes a bit like, fuck, I really want to go somewhere and just hammer it. Like, not that because sometimes you get a bit, you're telling people how to do stuff and you can't exactly mimic. I can't mimic what I can do in port on starboard just because I haven't had the repetition. And it is, I do think there's a few people like that. They don't like going sailing on their bad tack if they're very good on the other tack. Like Ross Niger in North Wales, where I was just been from, the bay is like very arced. So when you get a certain wind direction, it's actually good starboard tack. But most people are good port tack. They basically don't go because it's onshore. You're like, well, it's not onshore. It's cross shore over there. It's like 100, 200 meters. It's like, but no one sails it. It's like, shit. And it's kind of interesting. That's like a semi sort of that, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I might have to go soon. Just a heads up. I've got a
Okay.
photo to do.
Oh, okay. We're almost towards the end. What's it got? Mario is saying, I had a slalom sail that I was going to throw it away because it was shit. But then I had a clinic with Matthias Isaac that tuned it, and now it is my preferred sail.
Yeah. No, but he tuned my sail, actually, to be fair.
Oh, right.
I was like, I got it rigged. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you need way more downhaul than that. I'm like, more downhaul? It's already loose to that. He's like, more. I'm like, got the harness, and then he showed me the trick with the harness, and I'm like, and then he goes, yeah, more. I'm like, more.
This was a slalom sail, was it?
Yeah, he put on 2 extra notches. Like, I already had it loose. It was eye-opening, and I went fast. Ridiculous.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, interesting.
It was a fair few years ago. I still remember.
I mean, I'm not saying anything very new here, but obviously getting your sail rigged right is huge. I mean, if it's not done as per specification, you're going to be struggling with, waggy wag stuff. The move I'm working on is just getting on the water after 6 months layoff due to injury.
Get on there, waggy. Get on it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing, when you haven't been on the water for that long and you get back on, just the fitness element, or just it's quite physical, obviously, windsurfing. So you have to sort of ease yourself back into it. What do we got here? It's a bit hard name to pronounce this one. When you do the first one duck jibe, that's it. It's like the first foil air jibe, muscular memory, and it turns so easy. Yeah, duck jibe. Andy Wood, clinics are great as you are with like-minded people all week who want to progress, and it creates some competition. Of course, a course in Texas in 2 weeks with Andy Brandt coming up. That's awesome.
I've heard a lot of good things about Andy Brandt. Apparently, he's the man. He's really good.
Oh, right, awesome.
Yeah, he knows his stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. And he was also come over to Corpus Christi in Texas. Looks like a really good spot. Yeah, Texas. Chris, I got my sea line. You got a sea line. Cool. Purely for no strap wave sailing. So much fun, but it does have a size limit, 4-ish foot. Anyone doesn't know, like a super stubby looking wide sort of wave board thing that can be used in really light winds. And that's cool. That's awesome, Chris. That's get the right gear for the job. Windsurf only follows someone who knows how to do it and try to mimic. It works only about how to move yourself on the board, also for where to position around the spot. Yeah,
this is interesting because this does work, and it's weird because your eyes, it's like watching a video. Like I said, you're kind of visual in it. When you see someone do it, your body, you can just make your body mimic it without actually thinking, because it happens quite quickly. So you just see it and you just do it without going front hand in a bit, back hand in a bit, move the leg, you just kind of see, what is it, monkey see, monkey do type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a saying, but something like that. I don't know if it's applicable in this application.
Martin's asking, wonder how long traveling to Geraldton from Amsterdam. I mean, it's probably in
20 odd
total.
hours.
Yeah, so it is a bit of a flight.
Bit of a mission, but it is worth it.
Oh, Christopher Key. This is not Christopher Koo. This is a different Christopher. This is not Future Horizon.
No, that's him, isn't it?
Oh, this is Future Horizon, is it?
I think it is.
Hey, Kitchen TV's back. Paul, why do you not cook something live on air while talking to Ben? There's my kitchen right there. Will definitely make the show more interesting. Just kidding. Wishing you all the best for Halloween. Thank you, Chris. That's very kind of you, mate. Yeah, I live in a top story of a townhouse, so my bedroom's over here, but this is the living room and kitchen's all here. So it's quite a cozy sort of spot I've got going on here. George, also, when I can't sleep and wake up at 4 a.m. every single morning because I'm thinking about sending it. Benny's sending it. Martin, for tips, it's best to do the Send It clinic so you get vid and tips from the pros. Yeah. There we go. George is saying he'll watch and rewatch Ben and Colin instructional videos. That's the other thing. There's so many YouTube videos out there, obviously.
Yeah.
And people have, it's awesome that people have put the time into to make that. Speedquest is saying he still has the Malibu, the Mistral Malibu I was talking about before. That's awesome. Wow. It's actually a great board. Like it's there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's a long board. So, yeah, actually, that's a good idea. It'd be epic to have an episode with Colin.
Yeah, we'll get up to get him in.
Yeah. And let's just quickly moving through the rest of these. Martin saying thinking about sharks really helps to learn a water start due to get motivation. That's for sure. Martin, at Byron Bay, which is in New South Wales, at the point I could see dolphins on one side and a shark on the other. Yeah, there's plenty of.
Which way did you go?
Oh, here we go. This might help me. Landing the back loop. The tip is look where you're going to land. If you never landed a back loop, you do not know where to look. Not on a turtle, that's for sure. Yeah, obviously.
You have to be careful with that because if you're not in the right position and you haven't got the feel for the back loop, it'd be like some people have the feel straight away. I was kind of similar on one tack, but not on the other. But a lot of people, if they look, then they've not separated the top and the bottom half. It can go quite wrong.
Ragnaron is saying drink a beer before going sailing.
Can't help for certain things. I wouldn't recommend it, but it's been done before.
Yeah, it probably helped with some of the it's true. Like I don't think it'll help being drunk sailing, that's for sure. But like maybe but if you did have maybe who knows, like that'd be interesting actually.
I did some tequila at Luderit's speed challenge. That was a bit of a loose.
We've got here Tanel saying spent a couple of summers living on the beach, fooled around a lot with a big board and small sail, sometimes with almost no wind. Helped a lot. Yeah, that's the other thing. If you ever go down to the beach and it might not be as windy as you hope, you think, well, I've got nothing else to do, then just getting on the water and practicing things like those heli tacks or slow tacks, it's actually super helpful for your sailing if you can learn to tack in light wind, because you might be out on a 25 knot day and the wind drops to 10 knots, so you need to be able to sail in light wind. It's super. It's hard. It's not easy.
This is a long shot, but just my brain has gone onto that. Has anyone got a tandem they want to sell? I want to buy one of those starboard big tandem boards.
Yeah, cool.
I think it'd be quite good for the kids.
Fitness and injury saying get Andy Brandt on the pod. We'll add him to the list. I can ask. Andy Wood is saying I can ask Andy Brandt to join. Cool. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, pass the message on. And what do we got here? The last comment, Ubi Rajara, he says, best tip ever came from Jan Rifflet. How do I say that guy's name? Is that a...
Riffle. No T, it's French.
Oh, yeah, Riffle, is it? Jan Riffle. In...
Ibericara.
Your board and sail is good for her keeper, not for...
Actually, there's one more here. Like Fitness says, I agree. My first foiling jibe was following one guy in the area who could do it. And it like I said, that following thing does work. I'm planning on doing that a bit more on the clinic this year, where we go out in front and do some like move right in front, just to do that type of training, let's say.
Okay. Oh well.
But, yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Benny, for all those tips. So for anyone out there, so if you're thinking about going on a clinic, although did you say yours are all sold out?
Yeah, we might have one space in the first clinic, maybe, but it's full. But we need a backup.
Okay. Actually, one other thing we didn't mention, or is also check out Graham Ezzy's Facebook page.
Yeah.
Because he's grown a really big community there, where people send in their videos, and he basically goes through them each week and just dissects them and helps lots of people.
Yeah, but he's got the YouTube channel. I think he does every Sunday. I've been talking to Graham last week. Maybe.
Oh, sorry, it's done through there too. Yeah, but it's yeah.
But I think he goes through the videos on the group every week on the YouTube video, I think. And obviously, everyone within the community offers help, and you just have to be careful you're not getting advice from the wrong person. That's the only problem with those community things. Like, I always wonder, like, who's giving this advice? I've seen it on other things, and I'm like, that doesn't seem like good advice. Like, there's some car ones that I follow, and the guy's like, full mechanic comes on later who deals with Land Rover engines, and he's like, what the fuck is this guy on about? Don't do that. You have to be a bit careful.
But I don't think you have to worry about Graham.
No, not Graham. Worry about Graham. Just usually with community things, it's always, so it's part of the fun as well. Yeah.
Nope. All right, Benny. Thank you. And thanks everyone for joining us once again. And we'll hopefully get some of those guests on in the future. Cool.
Goodbye.
See you guys.
Bye.
That time of the week again. Sit back, relax, we got the brain of band. No need to stress in the house, it's Van Bellen. The game is windsurfing, you can't yell them or tell them. We get the news, the views, the win biz. The brand's gear, tips plus the world's best quiz. Carbs, PWA. We're professionals without the pay. There's nothing in pole dancing that we won't chat. From tandem boards to a windsurfing cat. It's your one-stop shop for a laugh and listen. Tune in each week or you'll be doing the missing.